are the days of our lives. Type of girl you try to make her your wife. Got a trophy. I don't play for the league, but she can get that recreational D. Okay, go on, put your hourglass on my three-legged stand. Right. Pussy singing like Tina Black when she first got that advance. I beat it up like boogie nights. Come on. Okay.
What's going on? What is going on, everyone? Welcome, of course, to an episode of Opinionated with yours truly. I am your host, Resla. And if you are new to the channel, as we are always still building, this channel is about critical thought. It's about all that thought-provoking conversation, and of course it's about how do we give the thoughts back to individuals so that when they're opening their mouths, they're not spewing out the hefty amount of garbage that they have been subject to and indoctrinated with on these social media streets. I think it's the first time I really ever put it out that way. We have a topic for you guys today because this has been something that's been a long debate for a long time, and that is about when it comes to people and their personal funds. And when I say personal funds, I'm referring to people who are like billionaires, millionaires, big entrepreneurs, tech moguls, all these people who are making tremendous amount of wealth, and people saying that no one needs to be earning that kind of money. This has sparked debate for quite a long time for a lot of different people, especially when you see those who are, quote, the richest people in the world. Should there be a limit on personal fortune? Should we consider capping how much someone can have? And I'm talking about the mega billionaires. Should they have a ceiling when it comes to wealth? We're not talking about what their companies earn, but them as an individual person. And hey, don't tune out yet. Tune out yet. You don't know really where it's coming from, because this is a conversation. This is a conversational conversation, but also a little bit of a controversial one when it comes to a lot of people in the aspect of funds, in the aspect of what those other resources could be used to help other less fortunate people. But it's also a conversation of how it affects all of us and in what ways that we may not be realizing. If you have already heard just what I said already, and you're thinking to yourself, the first thing that pop out of your mind is that he is about to have a conversation where he's aiming for a socialist society, I want you to do yourself and your other fellow citizens a favor. And that is to get kicked by a horse and die. Because I never made that claim whatsoever. But if that's the first thing that popped out of your mouth, that's what kind of future I would like for you. All right? So before we even get started, I would of course like to, build the framework. But before even that happens, I always like to thank the people who already walked into the building good and ahead of time. And right now we have the lovely Yvette who has come in, and I very much appreciate you showing here, baby girl. Lauren has been in here. Lauren's like, she's like, what's going on? Hit the like button. Yes, if you haven't already, folks, and you walk in here, do yourself a favor, folks, and hit that like button. Now, you know how I like to frame a little bit of debate. I like to pretty much lay a bit of groundwork, because if not, we leave it up to interpretation. And when we leave things up for interpretation, it does not bring forth great communication and understanding. So let's kick it off by really talking about the two sides of the argument. On one hand, people say things like, yes, absolutely, we should limit personal funds. They think it's crazy that one person, let me just say that, one person can have hundreds of billions of dollars, while others are struggling to eat. People are struggling to have a place to live. They argue that the extreme amount of wealth is just a great sign of inequality in a very bad society for us. It creates power imbalances. And honestly speaking, it's hard to argue that someone deserves to be that rich. Deserves being the key word in that particular sentence. I mean, how much is too much, right? Think about that for a quick moment. How much is too much? And while you sit there and you mull over that one for a quick bit, I'm going to talk about the other side, the flip side of that argument, where others say, now, there is no way whatsoever. Let people make as much money as they want. There's an argument that the idea of capping wealth could kill motivation, especially for entrepreneurs and people who are innovators. After all, let's just be honest. Lots of our modern conveniences and our technologies, from the smartphones to electric cars, they come from people who were, quote, the super rich, doing something new. These folks, these folks believe limiting wealth could also lead to a lot of mess, a lot of economic freedoms, and which is a big deal. It's a big deal in places like my good old country of the US, where you could say that mediocrity is practically a religion. Oh, no, I said mediocrity. Meritocracy is pretty much practically the religion that we have here. It is pretty much the day by day, fly by night of the country. And I wonder how many people think about this. How many people have had conversations with people that they know who have turned around and talked about this whole thing about eating the rich, that the rich have too much. And how many of them actually have had conversation with those people, or even the other people that turned around and said things like, they earned all their money. They worked hard for it. They should keep it. They should do whatever the hell they feel like with it. Just saying. CCD's up in here. Appreciate you for coming in, sir. He says the glasses is looking sharp. Yeah, I was determined whether I wanted to keep them on because I know when I speak it tends to reflect my monitors and such. But I said I'll keep them on because I'm having a little tough time ever since the morning time when I got up. A little bit seeing some things I wish I could see a little bit more clearly, but I have not today. And Zoomer says up in here. Appreciate you for doing that. Appreciate you for coming by. So let's dive into the argument of the what was I talking about? The wealth cap. Let's talk about that. This idea of limiting people who make a certain amount of funds, right? One of the strongest arguments that one of the strongest arguments for capping wealth is this idea of inequality. We know that's a word that we hear so often these day and age, but people say it's not fair. And when a few people have so much money, it's not just bad for the economy, folks. It's bad for democracy. I want you to think about that for a moment. Think about it. If one person controls a massive chunk of wealth, they can pretty much control policy. They can influence elections. They can shape laws. Is that, quote, a fair society? Oh my gosh, my cop cars want to come through. It was so quiet today, I swear. Is that considered a fair society, folks? Some people will argue it's not. And they believe that the people who are wealthy, or rather having a wealth cap, could level the playing field so that they could not influence a society in such an unfair way. I mean, it's going to be difficult, especially for those who already live here in the US, but try to imagine a world where no one could make more than let's just say 500 million. I'm being very generous. $500 million. No one can make more. No single individual can make more than $500 million. Million dollars. Does that sound crazy? Does it sound crazy to say that the limit on a cap for any individual is literally 500, those are 2 zeros, folks, million dollars? Is that a crazy thing to say? And here's another interesting point. Some people look at a lot of wealth and say that it isn't really earned. It's not really earned because there are people who have inherited it. People have got a lot of wealth out of exploitation. There are people who that they're saying the system itself allows for the rich to keep getting richer. Not necessarily because they worked harder or smarter for it, which if you have found a way to make yourself richer using the actual systems in place, I don't understand how it's not used as being smarter. But they say it's because they're in a position to take advantage of certain opportunities like tax loopholes. In this case, a cap could ensure that everyone benefits from, quote, the wealthy. Or rather, just benefit from those aspects of wealth in general. Not just those particular people sitting at the tippity top of the mountain. And I'm actually wondering if there are people who agree or even disagree with that. In the chat, CCD, you said, I'm having a problem. Let me move this window over so I can read you a little bit quicker, a little easier too. So you said, I think that even if the richest person in the world only had $1 more than the rest of the world, and everyone else had the same amount, people would protest and ask them for their share. For a dollar? For a dollar? I guess it depends on what the value of that dollar is, but I'm not sure a dollar will do that. But yeah, which is also why I told people to go get kicked by horse and die when they for the aspect of people bringing up the idea of like communism or socialism, because that's not the conversation I'm having. But I know that's the first thoughts that go through people's heads. So if there's people out there that's the first thoughts that say that I'm speaking about communism or socialism, I will repeat myself. Get kicked by a horse and die. And I don't mean like in the impact where you hit the ground. I mean instantly when the hoof hits you. Instantly. Instantaneous horse kicking death. I don't even want you to feel the pain. I just want you out. Because that's not the point that I was making. Now, CCD, you also said that education is the path to wealth. Nah, education is not the path to wealth. It's not. Because there are plenty of people who did not have prominence or large amounts of education who either are naturally talented or they view other people and they've been able to make many strides for themselves. There are people who work what we consider the low-end jobs, really just blue-collar jobs in many industries that actually help build many societies of today. Your plumbers, your electricians, your bricklayers, your masons, all these people. And they have made a great amount of money. They didn't need, quote, education for it. They just needed to pay attention and be taught and trained properly. Most jobs in most industries just require someone who will pay attention. Most jobs are trainable. There are no jobs that are not trainable. If that was the case, then we wouldn't have a need for education. Most jobs are trainable, and most jobs are trainable for average people. You have to have a certain amount of intellect, and most average intellects can be able to run most jobs. Most. So the whole educational path leads to wealth is not necessarily the case. They use the educational path to promote people with wealth because there is a stigma, there is a a gaffe that's being used to say that if you have put yourself into debt, then it is worth you to earn more money. Not because you are actually smarter. Because we know plenty of people who are dumb as rocks who have degrees under their belts. I'll use the same premise that I use for a lot of people. I have met plenty of communication specialists and communication majors who have a hard time speaking to people. I'm like, I thought you have a communications master. How is it you have a problem speaking to people? How is it you cannot understand the emotional intelligence or the actual IQ of people? The EQ and the difference between the EQ and the IQ when it comes to handling people. Whether you have communication specialists, whether you have people that are sitting in HR, whether you have actual recruiters, counselors, social workers, you name it. Education wasn't the thing that saved them. You have to have an ability and an affinity to deal with people in general. It doesn't matter if you're a strong mathematician. If you can't talk to anyone, all your efforts are going to be in vain over time. You'll just be a good, diligent worker. You'll be a good boy. Good boy. That doesn't mean you're going to move up anywhere, because if you can't talk to nobody, what's it worth? So, education, and especially if we're talking today when it comes to education, definitely because the future is not looking bright at all. Not even a little bit. So I'll have to push back on the whole path to education, it being wealth. It's not, especially when we talked about a lot of people have been granted their wealth, especially when we talk about people who just take advantage of the system, or they have their trust fund babies, or they inherited it. Education doesn't help people. Hey, you said it, you already beat me to it. Yeah, people who are influencers. These are not people who have turned around and said, well, I learned everything in marketing. It's not. Some people just needed to have a following because they were entertaining. Whether it meant jumping off of a bridge into shitty water like people in Jackass or whatever. There's a market for someone. You didn't have to be the smartest person to be able to gain wealth. Sometimes you just have to be willing to do what other people are just not willing to do. Which is if you mean jumping into a river of shit because it's entertaining, there you go. So we can't even say that they were smart. No, they risked STDs. They risked all kind of parasites. They risked everything. They risked their own personal health. They risked gonorrhea and chlamydia and who knows whatever else. All for the almighty dollar. Are we saying really that they were smart? I think not. Did they make a shit ton of money? Absolutely. But smart? You don't have to be smart to make money. You just have to be willing to think outside the box. That's not being smart. Sometimes that just means having courage to do what other people will not. Sometimes that just means being stupid. Hey, I'm sorry, but I don't know anyone that turns around and say, you know what? These people who go into the UFC and they're cage fighting, they're smart individuals. You're going somewhere where you're going to get your brains possibly knocked the fuck out and you may not be able to function properly for the future. Are they smart? No. They're not. So education doesn't necessarily help people. If education really helped people, then we wouldn't see so many basketball and football players who go to college and get their degree and go to their leagues, and then they turn around and earn all that money and they leave and they're broke. Education doesn't necessarily help people this day and age, because education is only useful to people who utilize it. That's it. Saying that you have a piece of paper that says that you have a credit, you went from a accredited institution, is not enough these days. It's just not. And I think that's where people find things a bit tricky. But what about the case against people who, the case against the wealth cap? Because I talked a lot about people who pretty much state that there are people who have wealth, and quite frankly they shouldn't be having these things. There should be a cap on it. And that's why I also made the concession and just saying, what if there was $500 million? Don't you think that's enough? And some people, they say, yeah, that's enough. Do we really need to have a single person be worth billions of dollars? billions. Most people will never, most people, let's be honest with you guys, we understand that billions are more than millions, but I don't think anyone has really taken the time to see just how many zeros is in a billion. A trillion. We know that trillions are more than billions, but I don't think anyone has ever sat down to count how many zeros are in a trillion. We get the nuance. It's more. But let's be honest. Sometimes we are fooled by the size of something and not the worth and the value of it. It's like people who look at 2 glasses of orange juice that are exactly the same ounces, but one's in a taller glass and one's in a wider glass. And people tend to believe that taller means more. So what about the case against the people who have the quote the case against the wealth cap? Because things get tricky. What about the people who are against those wealth caps? What are their arguments? From what I've read, I think some of their arguments are saying that you're putting limits on how much any person can make. And they think that, quite frankly, if you limit those people, it can backfire. And I wonder about that. I mean, let's think about the incentives. What are all the incentives that we could be killing? A lot of the world's biggest innovators, when I'm thinking about them, I think about things that genuinely make life better. When they decide to donate or when they put up a charity from the extra money that they've had. And I know you can say they could put up the extra money from the 500,000, but why should they give up money that now they have a cap on? What about the whole aspect of the work that they put in that come from who got rich? And what about the idea of those rich people doing what they could do best? Would capping personal wealth stifle motivation for those people? Because would they really want to push the boundaries of their industries if they knew that there was an actual cap on what they can make? Would we even have electric cars? Would we have the iPad? Would we have the streaming services that we have today? What about life savings, guys? What are the life savings when it comes to the medical tech fields? If the billionaires couldn't exist because there was a cap on what they actually could make. Tell me what you think about that. Do you think that the wealth cap would stifle innovation? Yes or no? Because it's a decent conversation that, quite frankly, no one, still to this day, has an answer for. They're still at odds ends with each other. And it's typically between people who are in the middle, people who do it really well, and people who are at the bottom who says they could use some of those resources. But let's be honest, even resources that are given to people at the top or even at the bottom have been for people who have used it in the most inefficient of ways. I know I've seen it, and I'm pretty sure there are other people here who have said that they've seen it as well. And you know what? Let's just say we did. Let's say we did have a cap. How exactly would we go about enforcing it? We have a complex financial system, do we not? People can hide their money offshores in these freaking offshore accounts. We hear about the Caymans so often. People have all these tax loopholes. It's how they get away with it. Tax havens, as they call them. I think it's one thing to say, let's cap the wealthy, in the same way how they say, let's eat the rich. But a whole other thing for them to actually do it. How would one go about actually capping people who make those kind of monies? How would you go about capping people who are Jeff Bezos, who are Warren Buffett, who are Bill Gates, and many, many more that go unnoticed? Many people who get famous or make a lot of money on make a lot of money and then lose it because they didn't know how to manage it. Well, sure, but then they again, them losing their money is them losing their money, and which is why we have the whole thing when it comes to education. I mean, just because you have education doesn't mean you were taught how to manage money. And you could be taught how to manage money. That doesn't mean that you know how to take a look at what's best in any industries whatsoever. If you got a degree in freaking liberal arts, that doesn't mean that you're a great business person because you know nothing of, essentially about business. So what will happen in the future? The asteroid? I don't know. I don't know. Now you went all the way to Star Trek. A socialist, but could be with money for technology. Well, keep in mind, during the time of Star Trek, there was no need for people who were wealthy anymore. There was no need for it because resources could be discovered in other galaxies with other life forms. The ideal of the enterprise itself was all about discovery of new life and new hope and civilization. There was no need for people to be the most rich because, quite frankly, the most important thing was to, at this point, not to be the top dog in your quote in your planet, but for people to be able to have as much wealth and influence in a galaxy structure. So, yeah, I guess at some point, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were definitely poor people in Earth on Star Trek. Let's not go there. Let's not just say it just totally went socialist and everybody was good. There were definitely poor people in freaking Star Trek. And I know they probably didn't show that on the TV shows, but if you read any Star Trek books or whatever it can be, there were definitely poor people on Star Trek as well. So I don't even want to put that out there as well. They absolutely were. Just like there are poor people on Romulus, like there were poor people on Vulcan, like there are poor people everywhere. Like it's not a one and all an all for one kind of thing. I get it that they got the freaking the food replicators, but food. Let's be honest, food replicators only came to those who can afford the actual replicators. So we got to actually put that into perspective as well. And I'm not even going to talk about Diddy money. I'm not going to get into that at all. I'm tired of actually hearing about this man. He need to be in prison and say, take that, take that. I don't want to hear no more about Diddy no more. And what's good, Uncle Fatty in the building? Now, if the idea of a wealth cap seems extreme, right? Did sells in here as well. What's going on, man? Now, like I said, if wealth caps sound extreme, there must be alternatives. Now, for what I recall reading across articles I was getting into was that some people suggest progressive taxation on the rich. Making the super rich pay their fair share, not realizing just how much they actually paid already. But they said let them pay higher taxes without outright limiting how much they can make. How exactly do you try to enforce that? What exactly is enough? Would that really fix this ideal that people are portraying as inequality? Think about that for a moment. Most people are just quick to react, but they really don't think about what rich people, what wealthy people who have built their industries contribute to. And again, I have mentioned some things earlier that people have some legitimate gripes about. You know, another idea that came across is trying to maximize, uh, trying to figure out what the maximum wealth to the minimum wealth is. Because now we're talking about the people who what make uh, um a million. What's the threshold? A million, a billion. What exactly would be that threshold for taxation? Is making a million just too much? And then keep in mind, I was generous and I said 500,000 being the cap. I'm 500 a million being the cap. But what exactly would be the taxation for it? How exactly would you be able to legislate that? Hmm? So, for example, the richest person in society could say have 100 times the wealth of the poorest person. That would force billionaires to basically care for improving the conditions of everyone. Because if the bottom richest person, or rather, if the bottom, I'll take the richest person, the bottom rich person. If they are put, if the billionaires are forced to take care of improving the lives of people who are sitting at the bottom, of everyone sitting at the bottom, just because the person at the bottom is able to rise. So is that a cap? What exactly does that cap go from? How much is enough? Because when we consider how many people are poor, and again, in this day and age where we have so many people who are coming in who have nothing, be it the people who are already here, be it people who already lost stuff, be it people who are moving into this country. LA, what's going on, man? I mean, we could look at voluntary and ethical limits. I don't think when it comes to people who are rich, people look at it in terms of people who are actually using those ethical limits. And ethical is something that's very hard for a lot of people to grasp. Because some billionaires, like say Warren Buffett, like Bill Gates, they've pledged, they've literally given away most of their wealth. And people seem to believe that it's not enough. And then if you're talking about just those who have given up, whether they're charities or whether they're just giving up their wealth to specific institutions or whatever, there are people who are saying, should that be the norm when it comes to other millionaires and billionaires? Why is it that now they are forced? They are forced to basically give up their money. On top of being taxed, by the way. What if we encouraged rich people to voluntarily cap themselves? Would that really do anything? Or are we just looking to put a band-aid on them? A band-aid over the real issue at hand. Whatever that issue might be. And actually, when I'm thinking about that, what exactly are the cultural and quote ethical implications? Hmm? Because we got to consider other people's cultural habits and how they go into this aspect of how they spend. I think of other countries, but the most I could tell you is here in the good old U.S. Wealth is tied to this ideal of economic freedom, this ideal of merit, this ideal of the American dream. If you cap how much someone can actually have, aren't you also capping their potential? Doesn't that actually clash with the values of personal freedom and hard work? You let me know what you're thinking about that. And what happens if we actually go through with the idea of being able to cap wealthy people? Who's gonna handle all that money that's been capped off? Are we gonna trust it to our government to redistribute that wealth fairly? Hmm? You really believe that they're gonna do the due diligence of that? That's a whole other can of worms. Am I right? All right, so let me just take this and kind of wrap it up in a little bow before we start getting the ideas of what everybody else is thinking in here. Because we've covered pretty much a lot today. I've covered pretty much a lot today. And should there be a limit to personal fortune? That was the idea and the question that pretty much sparked this entire thing. Hell, it's the freaking title of the stream. It's clear that both sides have pretty good and pretty compelling arguments. On one hand, it's about this rebalancing of power because they want to be in this area of having inequality addressed. And of course, making sure that the wealth benefits are for everyone, not just for the top people in the game. On the other hand, gotta say, we have concerns about people stifling innovation, restricting economic freedom. Also, whether or not the government can even manage having that kind of funds, the discretionary funds, and being able to make change effectively, to even trust them to be in that kind of position to do so. This is one of those issues where, honestly speaking, it may never clearly get addressed. What I love though is that we can have these conversations, that we can break down these big questions and we can talk about the impact and how they have on not just the wealthy, but also the everyday person, what exactly when it comes to success, what we consider fairness in society. So what do you think? Should we cap personal fortune? We're not just talking about big companies, we're talking about the personal fortunes of the individuals themselves. I know we say, corporations are people too, but I'm not talking about the corporations, I'm talking about the individuals. The Elon Musk. Not Tesla company, not SpaceX, Elon Musk. Should we cap personal fortunes? Or should we let them make as much money as they damn can? If you guys are catching this on the replay, let me know in the comments. And of course, let me know what's going on here in the chat. That's going to be my little breakdown as to what I'm thinking so far. And you know what happens after that. Link, guys, in the chat. Pin to the top of the chat. Give me your thoughts on it. And I kind of want to know what exactly is that you're thinking about it. Let me know, what are your thoughts? Is this something where we really could hold it back? I see that freaking CCD keeps going into the fantasy realm to see exactly how we get to the type of government that we are today. Not sure exactly how that really plays into today, but maybe he might be cooking in there. I don't know. I'll give you guys an opportunity, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take a little step back. I'm gonna grab me a couple of beers, and I'm gonna see what you guys are basically saying over here in the chat. I'll be right back, guys.
OG do dirty, flipping packs in the back, stuffing the blood, fat stack, jet black Cadillac, stacks in the mattress, cash cow status, walk in the streets, heat up, no pipe, blood blazing, smoke hazing, OGs in the attic, crispy clean kicks, ain't nothing static, southern nights, trap dreams, raw matic, light it up, inhale the magic, erratic, down south, making moves, 808s, hit raw, sip the lean, slow the scene, outlaws on call, counting bills, run the grills, trap house ball, switches in the air, grandiose alcohol, dirty dope dreams, with the crew so mean, like some movie scene, trap king, royally king, purple haze phase, hazy days, cash in streams, hit the streets, beast like the tower. Got the power, hour after hour. Living fast, mile high, never sour. Came up from the grid, dirty money flower. Blood blazing, smoke hazing, OGs in the attic. Crispy clean kings, ain't nothing static. Southern nights, trap dreams, raw magic. Light it up, inhale the magic, erratic. OG do dirty, leaning like the tower. Got the power, hour after hour. Living fast, mile high, never sour. Came up from the grid, dirty money flower. Blood blazing, smoke hazing, OGs in the attic. Crispy clean kings, ain't nothing static. Southern nights, trap dreams, raw magic. Light it up, inhale the magic, erratic.
All right, all right. We got Dan. Dan sits in the building. What's going on, Dan? How's everything?
Rainy. Started raining around midday. Luckily, I got everything done I need to do for today, so rest of the evening is gonna be pretty much free for me. You know, just chill and catch up on things, and perhaps watch a movie later on or something. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What do you think about the actual conversation? I know you walked in a little bit late. A little bit
Now,
late. You ain't
I
catch my
got the
whole. You ain't catch
I
my
got
whole
the
thing.
gist of it. I got the gist of it. In very short and concise way, yes, democracy, freedom demands restriction and limitation towards those who become economically overpowered and use that overpower just like religion uses their faith to then control society.
So, I made a just a random number, but I just said I don't. For me personally, I think that I'm on both sides. I believe that a person should be able to make as much money to have economic freedom. Who either really cap them, but then I did go into both sides, which said basically there are people who use that money to, like, for instance, we have Elon Musk who just donated millions basically to Trump. You know, should a single individual be able to capsize? And keep in mind, he's a rich man himself. Trump's a rich man himself. But to be able to capsize and quote influence things like that. We talk about lobbyists who are funded by rich people in order to sway particular voting habits or whatever, or push for particular things, which makes people believe, which brings people to the ideal that there are so many people out there that their votes don't work or don't really matter because it only goes up to whoever the richest person who can donate the most money, and of course our electoral colleges, who we know are not on the up and up as well. And it brings forth this idea of it. Now I put 500 million. Like, the question is, does a person really need to make billions of dollars? A single individual, not an entity, not a business, not a collection of businesses. Should a single person be represented under billions?
I think that, just to center the conversation, an individual who is able to gain that type of wealth, we could follow the logic that he's not or she's not doing it alone. That in order to achieve such grandiose wealth, that person is part of a corporation or a anonymous society or any type of enterprise that requires the communion or the union of uh, people to work towards that particular goal. Which then, if that person is the head of that CEO or that position of leadership, then that person is able to make that astronomical amounts of money. But a person by themselves, for example, dude, I'm 42 years old. Um, of course, my finances are personal, but I'm going to give a certain overview. You and I are close in age.
We're both the
When
same age.
was the same age?
Mhm.
So when was the first time you made 100,000?
The first time I made 100,000, probably, I want to say probably 2019.
19. You were about mid 30s.
About late
About
30s.
that.
About late
So
30s.
standardized person in the last, I would say, roughly in the last 70 years, a person in our societies is able to make that first 100,000 in that range, mid 30s, late 30s. From that point on, depending on what that person is economically into, the most it would depend on the most wealth an individual can actually do. Not being part of any corporation, not being part of any type of organization, just by themselves. In the span of when they become an adult to the span of 60, 70 years, probably is going to be about a million and a half. Yes, that's an average. There are cases where people can do more, there are cases where people do less, obviously. But that, let's part from that idea of an average net income on the span of your adult life of 1.5 million. Let's just say 2 million for the argument's sake.
Okay.
So you as an individual, your capabilities, your the time you're putting into, the effort you're putting into making that money is limited. You only got technically 24 hours a day, but you need to sleep at least 7 or 8. You may spend anywhere between 8 to 16, 19 hours on the different work. But if you go into the spectrum of 19 hours, I mean, there's a whole conversation there. So, in this sense, if you are an individual by yourself making that money without anybody's else help, without involving yourself on a corporate level,
Mhm.
without injecting yourself into the labor markets, either the liberal labor markets or the non-liberal
I got you.
labor markets, then I could agree with you. Yeah, why the hell's the government gonna come in and tax over that? But realistically, in real life, that you never make money alone. You are always requiring society and the involvement with other people around you.
I I agree whether you start off with people who are just investors, or I mean, of course you don't do it by yourself, because if you own a company, of course your clients, whoever your clientele are purchasing from you, think, I agree on these a lot of these different aspects. It's just a question of, Jesus Christ, this one over here. As long as my OF takes off, depends on what you do on your OF. All right, but there were a lot of people. I mean, I okay. The question you asked me is the first time I made over 100,000. So that was definitely in 2019. I don't do that anymore. Um, but for one, I don't work as many hours, and I don't work as hard as I used to. I found myself in a position where I'd rather live more and work less. I used to really be the workhorse in the in the office 60, almost 70 hours. Like and now I stopped that because I want to take advantage of time. I want to take advantage of experiences and families and friends and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So I knew that the trade-off needed to be there. And the question is, what's comfortable to you? Do you really like, because we have a culture of pushing people who want to be the best, be at the top, be the richest. And I realized that's not the for me, that it's not the most comfortable place to be. Because you'll always be under constant scrutiny, constant pressure, and in this constant effort to have to scale to the next level, to be a cutthroat. And I realized that wasn't the area I wanted to be.
And I come from cultures that are a mixed type of behavioral sense. Yes, there's an importance for you to work. Yes, there's an importance for you to be financially independent, but that is not the end goal. We see that individualistic, reactionary way of being unhealthy in every sense of the word. It's also, we could deem it in a cultural level, corrupt. It's a corrupt way of living because it forces you to become corrupt in order to reach that top level. Then you see the unethical decisions to go up the stairs. You know, Bernie Madoff.
Yeah. It's hard for you to get that up there and earn that kind of money and be ethical. It's very difficult.
It's
It's
I would
almost
say it's
impossible.
impossible. It's almost
Exactly.
impossible.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
almost impossible. You really have to have no principles after a while.
and I
You
and
have
I
to know it will hurt other people and you have to be okay with that.
and I give the example of Bernie Madoff.
Hmm.
That's one example of that type of mentality that we call that. That is one of the elements of the gringo mentality that we criticize openly. Um, so yeah, no, I mean, thing is that there's a what I find fascinating. There's a romanticization of the uh, of the of the businessmen. The Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, the Elon Musks, the so on and so on. Just to give some examples. But there's also a villainization, or making them a villain once they reach that point. Look at the discussion in regards to corporations in the United States
Yes.
and outside of the United States. For example, are you aware of the recent sentence in a court in Florida or New York? I'm not sure if it was in New York or in Florida, against Chiquita Brand.
No, I'm pretty sure there's someone in the chat who probably knows. I've been staying away from court cases.
Okay, so just to give a quick rundown, Chiquita Brown was found guilty for financing paramilitary groups in Colombia, which in
God damn.
turn killed Afro-Indigenous as well as it. And this paramilitary were right-wing, conservative, anti-communist paramilitary organizations, extrajudicial killings, etc. And they were charged to pay $38 million. Okay, I find
Okay.
that justice being served. I don't give a damn if that means. And look at the series. I do not give a damn if that means North Americans or anybody else loses their jobs with Chiquita because Chiquita has to close. It's a price to pay. They paid their jobs, and that involvement with Chiquita meant the death of thousands of people in Colombia.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Well, but you also mentioned it. So you feel like it's okay because you're not necessarily worried about it, but you do know that there are plenty of people at that lower levels or mid levels or whatever that have nothing to do with those actual decisions, what those funds are being putting out there who are not out of work.
Of course. But then who is to blame of that? Is the people who went to the courts to denounce what Chiquita was doing the ones on the wrong, or is Chiquita the one on the wrong because as a corporation they involve themselves into the political realm of Colombia?
Well, obviously, we can say that it's the fault of the business being Chiquita.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes. The
So
people who are there are not responsible, or they are the key figureheads of those are the people who are responsible.
exactly.
But the other
So
people will catch the beating for it.
exactly. There's a saying in Spanish: "Pagan lo justo por los pecadores." They pay the just pay for the sinners. That type of concept.
I
And
hear you.
with this idea, what I wanted to reflect on is as follows: the problem with individuals like Elon Musk, or back in the day Rockefeller, or Steve Jobs, or any of this that reached that point of height, is that they feel themselves entitled to then act as a political and social power beyond democracy. So they become, like you said earlier in the conversation, they become a manipulator of society. And what they think should be starts going because they have the monetary or the money and the influence that comes with that money to then do do their stupidities.
Yeah, this was something that I was thinking about it when it kind of rubbed me the wrong way when I was thinking about this whole thing, because up until pretty much this election cycle, Elon Musk has never really been publicly supporting actually anybody and backing them with funds. I mean, even prior to, he was saying he doesn't want to support anyone, and then all of a sudden he backs down on Trump. I mean, as a someone who's dual citizenship, you can do whatever you want to do, whatever. But I'm just like, ugh, ugh, that's
Mhm.
bad. This is a big thing to say that you support and then you back it up with that obscene amount of money. It's a lot. It's a lot, but at the same time, there was the conversation that kind of sparked this whole thing of having this conversation was, if you were just able to say that you wanted to endorse, that you were willing to sponsor with your vote or whatever, is one thing, but then when you backed it up with money, is there such a thing? It's just too much money. And then if that's the case, what exactly is everything I laid out? What exactly would be the threshold? How exactly would it be managed? Who would take care of all those discretionary funds? Oh, it's a landmine. It's a huge landmine.
And you know what? Let's put this on the table because I love what you just said. But I'm gonna take everything that you said and I'm gonna blow it up to billion times. One, why is it necessary to preemptively ensure that those who reach that point of power, of financial gain, etc., are taxated in a bigger sense than individuals who are not at, who are not winning that kind of financial gain? It is because democracy and independence demands that no god, no king, and no private entrepreneur has any power over how societies transform, even if they are part of that society. So,
Okay.
from the preemptive sense, we can part from the vision that on the condition of this type of entrepreneur or businessman or whatever you want to call them, you know, the pillars of industry, whatever, we can agree that these people need to realize that their money does not equal unelected and official power to transform reality.
Okay, well, can you point? Oh, let's be honest. Can we really point to a time where that has not been the case? It's always been the case.
Yeah, it's so
Aristocrats, all that stuff. It's always been the case that the influence of the wealthy has always been the thing that influenced the person who has been in politics.
of course, and the striving of saying we can do better has always been alongside that of that attitude or that of that way of being. So I think that the major discussion is to reset the idea of what you call this American dream, which was kidnapped by the United States and uh, completely diverted from what its essence was 200 to 250 years ago. The reality of the American dream is not the idea of becoming rich or being able to make it. It's the idea or the fundament of living under freedom in the sense that you can have systems that no religious power, no economic power, no monarchy can control your life, your day by day. That is the American dream. That is the Western Hemisphere's dream. And in order to achieve that and continue striving for that, we have to recognize, yeah, people like Elon Musk who reached that top of power, or people like Rockefeller or Vanderbilt, or yada yada, so many others that we can mention. Yes, there's a positive sense that they're able to make it, and their ideas can give better evolution to our industry, to our technology, etc., etc., etc. But the downside of that is that the entitlement of thinking that because you're doing those things, you are entitled then to control society, that's a big no. So what we do is we say, okay, listen, you're free to do that. Great. We love everything that you are able to do. You have free reign to try to improve the ideas that you have. But one, we will not tolerate exploitation of the lower levels that are helping you achieve that dream that you have. Two, we will not tolerate you coming in with millions of dollars, suggesting that you are the only one who knows what route we should take. And three, what we're not going to tolerate is you seeking benefits, tax cuts, or any other form of benefit that hinders your contribution to society. So your excuse of your great
Who
ideas are
monitors
not
that?
excuse
Who who
of paying.
who monitors that when people when there are people, let's just say, could be brought up Elon Musk, who comes here and builds industries, not something that's abroad like a lot of the countries that we have here. A lot of the companies that we have here that go abroad to build their products, but comes here, builds within the U.S. and actually has helped build up industries, right? And I'll address Uncle Fatty's point over here. He actually can vote. He became a U.S. citizen in 2002, sir. He's a dual citizenship holder, so he can vote. Ooh, it sounds bad, but that's exactly what it is. Or as basically CCD put up there, he actually is a true African American.
Elon Musk. I mean, uh, interesting. As long as the migrant is, then it's all good. No matter if it comes
But he's also
illegally
he's
or
also someone who's built. He's also
yeah,
someone who's innovated. He's actually someone who's contributed to quote the Western society that we have over here in the U.S. Um, to say
has
that we're going to monitor to make sure that you don't influence or you don't get out of pocket. I wholeheartedly agree. But then we have to speak to who are those people that are in charge of that.
yeah. And the criticism or the question that one has to place is:
Mm.
has Elon Musk truly contributed to the society, or he's only contributed to an advancement of and a specific field of science in a
You can
privateer
say that.
way.
You can say that if other people have used it and it has been benefited their lives at mass, then the answer is yes.
We have to figure that out, and I think history will tell
Well,
us.
electric,
Hindsight will tell us better, but right now
well,
my position
SpaceX,
is very.
electric cars, and now he's got his whole sky, whatever sky thing that's happening, which I've already heard is really good in terms of being able to get services to people in rural areas from a satellite. I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, but in order for that to the sky net, or I don't remember what the name was, skylight or something like that, the internet he put
Yeah,
up there, he did not do that alone. He needed engineers. He needed a whole team of people
agreed.
behind that in order for it to become. So yes, he had a great idea, but in order for executing that idea, he needed a corporation,
Right.
a
But he
base of
also had
people.
resources that he did on his own to be able to build those resources. But the question is, we're not talking about the regulation and necessarily the taxation on companies. We're talking about individuals themselves. When we talk about the owners of companies, but we don't say how much the companies earn, but we're looking at the individuals themselves and what their actual singular net worth are. It's still a significant amount of money.
Funny thing is that
So for
they will
instance,
tell
he
you,
bought Twitter with really no money. Let's just be honest.
no, yeah, a look. What's interesting on this type of positions like Elon Musk is that they are an illusion. They are prestige, you know. And why they are an illusion? Because we recognize that their net worth as individual, part of that company,
Mhm.
is not entirely liquid. It's in different grades of assets.
Yep.
But here's the trick. Why is it an illusion? Because regardless of if it's a liquid or a asset, the reality is that that individual still has that net worth. And in order to execute it, they can search different venues in order to mobilize it. And at the end, the prestige comes on the fact that because they reached that point, then they're giving the society, it gives them kind of like a carte blanche to do and involve themselves in areas where they were not elected, or they become a parallel structure of power. And that is a big no-no, because one could say Elon Musk as an individual, you have all the fundamental rights that they are there, but you do not have the right to become an aristocrat and then think to yourself that you are the only one who is the who battles against the attacks of freedom of speech, or you're not the only one who has those dreams of getting out to space, and you do not have the monopoly on the course of society.
Sure. And we have laws on the books that prevent people from having monopoly. But we're also talking about these people who have this discretionary amount of money who are called the innovators, because prior to that, the technology was not really being that as great.
Yeah, but the problem with, you could say we have those laws on the books in the United States as well as throughout Latin America, etc. But it's the process of enforcement, and that's when the involvement of this type of individuals with politicians becomes a hindrance in regards of ensuring enforcement and ensuring the best development that does not, or that avoids that involvement. So we have to recognize that sure, we could have a whole slew of laws that gives us that basketball court, the playing field. But in reality, the enforcement of those laws becomes bad because this type of individual is able to pay off, is able to manipulate, is able to utilize the corruption towards that public official, and the public official becomes an accomplice of that. So, in order to have that the clear enforcement of that has to be done in such a way that we treat this type of entrepreneurs or pillars of industry, aristocrats, whatever you want to call them, just like we treat religion. There has to be a clear separation between the state and the church, and the state and the private business. That's the only solution I have seen plausible.
Okay. Uncle Fatty, welcome. Welcome, man.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Straight up.
What's your thoughts on it so far?
I mean, we can't cap the individual, right? That's the whole, freedom of it's a whole liberty thing, I mean, but we can cap the amount of the percentage that they make through exploitation. And that's the key word here. When we have corporate greed to the point where, 1950s, the corporations were kind of capped by regulation. And we know throughout time that the lack of regulation gives nothing more than the rise for greed and exploitation. When we're talking, capping the corporate profits so the CEOs can't make 3,000 times the amount of money per year that the average worker makes in the corporation. The people on the ground, the boots on the ground. That's when we're talking about, things like price gouging, inflation that really isn't inflation. It's just greed, and we got guys with mega yachts running around making, multi-million-dollar political donations and influencing, like you guys were talking about. The money influences. We know this. JP Morgan owns one of the bigger banks in all of the world now, right? With Chase Bank. So like, we're talking about old Rockefeller money. We're talking about, we're talking about new money. New money is the problem. It's not that it's a problem. It's just, that's kind of the whole thing of democracy and freedom of the free market, right? Is, he who strives, he who hustles the most, right? We got this hustle culture, right? But everybody knows, you do what you love for so long and then you grow to hate it. So you do what you can. There's not a billionaire that hasn't screwed somebody over.
Well, it depends. If you do what you love because it's something that just only benefits or hinders you, people tend to stick with it. But if you do what you love and the only reason why you're keeping at it is because other people are dependent upon you, that's when they hate it.
Yep. And realizing that you got to step on some skulls to work your way up the hill, right? You got to, it's a cutthroat world,
But think about this. We're only talking about the instauration of corporations through the legal mean, through the recognition of corporation through the judicial system.
Yep.
But we haven't even touched the secondary or the parallel economic reality that is happening on either contrabands, illegal drugs, and then the diversification from that is even worse because we are now seeing that not only do we have to contend with the type of Elon Musk who shows his face, who, yes, one can criticize in many ways, can agree, disagree, etc. But now we have, for the past 60 years, the people who are the Pablo Escobars, the Chapo Guzmans. Interestingly enough, when was the last time the United States arrested a Pablo Escobar level type of trafficker, U.S. citizen, in the last 60 years?
Politicians have diplomatic immunity, my friend. Their shipping containers don't get checked when they come across the border, right? Right?
Hey, I let's just say it this way. I want to say very clear. Freedom of association as a fundamental aspect of democracy. In the case of the United States, established on your Article 1 or your Amendment 1, I'm sorry. I know you guys call it amendment. And in the Western Hemisphere, we see that freedom of association established through the constitutional means. And we can agree. Governments should never be allowed to forbid or restrict or infringe that freedom of association, because freedom of association has many venues. There's the mutual economic interest, there's the mutual dream or focus on an idea, there's the mutual the mutual what's the word, the mutual help type of thing that it's being done, NGOs who just, or organizational people who just want to go help those who need help,
The
there are
honor.
variables.
Yeah,
But-
the respect, right? The knowing that the diversity is what makes us stronger. It's not the competition, right? The competition drives the overall quality, right? It doesn't drive the overall respect of honoring those that created the work and the workforce being the elected officials that become the leading force, that only the qualified get to rule over the others, that.
Right, but
That's a huge dynamic. That is the dynamic.
Yeah, but the overall comments is like, what exactly are people looking for when it comes to this idea? Like I said, you have people who turn around and say that there are people who they're allowed to make as much money as they want to, right? But then there's also the other people that turn around and say that there should be a cap on it. So that's why I even said this whole thing of like 500 million.
Yep.
I think that regardless, like that's a pretty good amount of money for an individual. We're not talking about a corporation. We're talking about for an individual. When we look at the Elon Musk, when we look at the Jeff Bezos, when we look at the Bill Gates, when we look at the Warren Buffett, we're talking about people who either recently came up or have been in the industry for a long time. That's still a significant amount of money to sit on. Koch brothers, exactly. And despite the fact what they already donate, you still see them with a significant amount of money. The question at hand is, how much is too much for a single individual to have? And then if we have those other funds that they're making through other means or what comes through their companies or whatever, how exactly does that get put out? And I don't think anyone can ever come down to a real clear-cut answer for that. I think at this point, we all pretty much know we cannot leave it to our government at all.
Remember when we were kids, how cool it would have been to be a millionaire?
Oh, just a millionaire? Absolutely. So, some people now, they still just say, just give me $1 million. I'll make the most of it. Just give me $1 million.
Man, that was the tops, though. That was tops.
That was.
Like you were upper 1%, bro. If you were a millionaire, bro, you could buy a G2 for like 200 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, now you can make $250,000. It's like, that's not a lot of money.
In a day.
Think about this. Us three, we've learned in our adult life that we don't require much. We just need 3 meals a day, roof over our head.
I'm addicted to power tools, so
Okay.
I say the man who dies with the most power tools wins.
Yeah, but regardless of any other hobby that we may have independent, I mean, fundamentally, what I would say is a person that wins an exorbitant amount, 500 million, 1 billion, 300 million, so on, that type of money, that fundamentally tells you that 10 other families could be living at least in a medium sense, paying the schools of their kids, paying the colleges, paying food, paying the bills, etc.
This is
Then
a
it
union
tells you,
problem.
huh?
Well, look at it this way. As
I
much
think
as
this
they,
is a
as much
union
as
problem
people talk
because
about, yeah, much
lack
people
of
talk about the money they have that will help feed other people. We also have to look at the fact that they also establish companies that also pay for people who are also taking care of their families
that's
and give away to charities. Let's look at Bill Gates, or even if you want to say Elon Musk, or even if you want to say Jeff Bezos. Yes, they
hey,
have an obscene amount of money after they still employ other people to take care of their families. So when
and
is enough enough?
the Walton family is a great example. Walmart, dude.
Yes,
Paying people
absolutely.
28 hours, paying people only like 38 hours and working these, these regulations that have been put in effect specifically for corporations to take advantage of the workforce when there's stuff like the right to work state, where there is no collective bargaining, there is no union force, and where we used to be at 40% union. Okay, let's think about like Leave It to Beaver, right? Ward Cleaver, right? He'd be making $118 an hour minimum in today's adjusted economy. Okay, to maintain the trad life, right? The trad wife, the trad kids, the trad white picket fence, right? The trad neighbor that comes over and eats all the time, right? Okay, and now we have a system there where they were at 38% union representation, where corporations as a whole had to regulate themselves because of that collective bargaining by the workforce, right? That we are the workforce, that we will make our fair share. Let's just admit it, a fair share. I'm not saying more or less is more or less, but when the CEOs are making 3,000 times the amount as the floor worker, I mean, that's the disconnect. I'm not for capping individual people, because that's the incentive, right? That's the drive. That's the Mark Cuban. That's the Gary V. That's the actor that
Yeah, you're the
Keanu
only
Reeves.
person I know who mentions Gary V.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
Gary's the man. You hustle culture, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you strive all day long and you shoot for the freaking stars. And if you make it to the moon, hey man, you're a hell of a lot further than anybody else.
But that goes back to the original point on the beginning of the conversation. An individual who makes money without involving themselves with anybody else, that it's neither a corporation, etc. Let's
Right.
just say that they made the money.
Solopreneur. Solopreneur, yes.
Yeah, but
Stock
it
market.
means that even in the stock market, you're involving yourself with others because you're dependent on the ups and downs of the decisions of third parties that are affecting the stock market in that sense. So I mean, fundamentally, you are involved with a tug war between speculation and somewhat certainty in that sense. So I mean, the stock market wouldn't count into that because you're involving yourself with others who are either striving to make it or at the same time are helping you to make it. So let's just, for argument's sake, imagine this: X individual is able to do something for themselves without the requirement or without the assistance or without the the contribution of others, and they reach that goal by themselves, and then boom, they're winning $500 million, $1 billion, whatever.
Yeah.
But they did it without anybody else. Then only on that condition I could agree that the involvement of regulation and the involvement of society via vis-a-vis the government should not be. However,
but no one's making that kind of money without anyone else. No one.
Right.
That's my point. That's my point. Therefore, the discussion of it, are we going to only taxate individuals, or how is that going to be only specific individuals, is that we're boxing the whole argument into an individualistic sense, whereas that doesn't happen in reality.
All right.
Elon Musk wouldn't be Elon Musk if it hadn't been for the hundreds and hundreds of people that have given their workload, work hours, etc., to him reach his goals.
Well, yay, and nay, because you say if it wasn't for them for working as hard as they have to put him in a position, but also if it wasn't for him being able to put them in a position where they could work hard.
Look at
it works both ways. You know,
let's look at professional sports as a typical like analogy, right? All the money that goes into NASCAR. Think about all those brand names just in NASCAR, and then think about like every other professional sport that has those brand names behind them. And that's just sports. We're not even getting into politics yet. That's how much money the corporations are making. Is that they own everything we see, right? Everything we see has a brand name on it for a specific reason, so that you notice it, right? It's all about the money, right?
Okay.
And as soon as we can eliminate the culture of this glorifying this romance, like you were talking about, brother, the romance of the Lambo and the trad wife and whatever it is that we romance about, right? The coveting, the ego, the pride,
the ego, and you know what Resla's saying. What the only thing I kind of would like to dwell into is that, and funnily enough, this is going to go more like the egg or the chicken first. Was it the fact that, or the idea that Musk was the one to open up the doors and give the conditions for these things to happen, or these things are happening irregardless of Musk because of the involvement of hundreds of people who are either envisioning the same goals, or at least they agree with the things that could and can be done. But I'll give you an example. Just the beginning of this year, the Swedish unions against Musk, and Musk lost that fight big time.
Yep.
Wait, but you're saying, as someone who starts a business and you're setting the standards as to how that business is run, they're not considered the egg?
Look,
I say the regulation is what creates the DNA. You know, because every country has a different regulational policy, and things have to be exploited in different ways. You have to be smart enough to play the game and use the Schedule C to your advantage as a corporation.
Right, but you have to establish a corporation, or if not, you're just a group of people just working with no goal in sight.
Yeah,
someone has to create those standards, and someone has to be the one who has leading those standards, and that would be the one who created that company. So
the chicken has to play the game, though. The chicken has to play the game, right? And the chicken has to know the game, right?
But he knows the game.
The chicken has to evolve, and the chicken has to, create ways of adapting and overcoming, and create new neural patterns that might be passed on to their children.
Which he has done.
It's the catch-22 of freedom, right? 51% is going to win because there's always a way to exploit the other side. There's always a 50% of the other side that can say, I can exploit this in a way.
Nothing, it's not like he never had any losses, because we already know the majority of first-time business owners fail.
Oh, yeah, you have to.
So this is the interesting point in this sense. And again, let me go back to the point. One, the individual that is able to have that space-time momentum of organizational, inspirational, yada, 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 who kickstarts that whole thing. Let's just say that.
The drive.
The
right?
drive.
The drive. Yeah.
So, but here's the thing. And I'm going to give another example. Howard Hughes. Is it because that individual was able to manifest, to create the conditions to which then everything kickstarts? Or is it because that individual, because of the circle around them or the support that they may have found, that they were then able to drive into that kickstart of that whole thing?
It depends on what your position is. The position of a Howard Hughes is not the same way as the position of an Elon Musk. So, for instance, he cannot be great at what he does if it's not for the other engineers that created the instrument for him to be able to do what he does. It's the same way we say for astronauts. Astronauts can't be astronauts without someone who's building the shuttle. The person who builds the industry for the shuttles to be made, that's the person you need to look at. Astronauts are astronauts. For Elon Musk to create SpaceX, he's the guy. He's the egg.
He's the guy that got the money to back.
He's not the chicken. He's the egg. He came first. Astronauts came second.
Yep. And I go back to what George Carlin had to say about this whole thing. The best thinker that ever came into comedy, right? George Carlin. This is all one big game and we're not invited, right? It's one big club. And this shit has been paid for and bought and paid for and paid for and bought and paid for so many times that we don't even know about, right? And voting and all this other stuff is just the veil that's pulled over our face to give us the illusion of some sort of control over our own lives.
That's where I go in and say,
and it sucks.
Elon Musk was neither the egg nor the chicken. Yeah.
He's the catalyst.
He's a catalyst that responded to a space-time momentum that built up to that circumstance. We are all subjected to that momentum of space-time.
That momentum, but where was it needed? Because we have abandoned the idea of space for so long. Where was it needed? We did.
As humanity, we had money. We hadn't abandoned the
which
thing.
He had.
Starlink, bro.
Which he's had.
He's got 30,000 something satellites private of his own.
Of his own satellites.
Then he leases out to different governments. Like, hey, you want to start a war? Hey, you want to surveil this guy? Hey, you want to start a war? Hey, you want to surveil this guy? I mean, come on, dude. The guy's playing both sides. We all know it.
Musk started in '95 with SIP2, which was an internet city guide with maps, directions, and yellow pages.
Yep. Which was
then he jumped into PayPalX.com, which was a particular bank. If I'm not incorrect,
that he funded.
And it was 23 years ago that he founded SpaceX, which then what's interesting is SpaceX because because Musk, see if I remember, was involved with the Mars Society. So the Mars Society was a non-profit organization which was discussing the potential ideas of colonizing Mars in that sense. So here's the thing, and that was the point of the whole argument. When I speak of a space-time momentum in the lives of individual human beings, is that one, we are never alone per se. Our actions are determined not by destiny, but by what is closest to us, proximity. And that proximity marks then certain grades of decisions and routes, etc. In the case of Elon Musk or in the case of Howard Hughes, etc., yes, they're responding to a specific era they're in. Let's just face it. We humans are feeble. We're short, and our lifespans, even if they have expanded to 78, still short. So the point being here is, I think that fundamentally, the discussion, and here I go, I'm geeking out. I'm sorry, but
I'm following you. Keep going. I'm following you.
So fundamentally, what we're placing on the ground is, one, what society are we striving for? How is that society in the benefit of now and tomorrow by learning of the and the fundamentals of the yesterday?
Are we for the betterment of all of humanity?
Well, we had a whole conversation about it that was happening in the chat earlier. I think that for people who are following the space life, we are actually trying to get to an era of like Star Trek. We are trying to get there. We are trying the whole point of even, let's just be honest, the whole point of even trying to get to another planet is about resources. And most likely resources that we don't have to fight for. If we knew that there were other life there, we know that we would have to get ready for a war in order to be able to fight there. But since it looks like it's uninhabited, we go there for resources.
One asteroid has sufficient gold that equates to the amount of gold all the countries in the world have right now.
Yeah, you know,
the question is, how the hell do we go out there and grab one of the asteroids and coming back? Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly. So I think that in essence we're all agreeing. I'm just explaining it with those academic words, space-time momentum, etc. But the end point here is, one, yes, as societies, we can make sure that there's a cap, not only on the economic gain, but on the illusion of power that this private buccaneers are able to. I've been using so many terms: aristocrat, buccaneers, etc.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie.
Everybody always needs a bigger yacht.
You impressed me. That was a good choice of word to use, buccaneers, because they're still stealing regardless. That was
Every
good.
Buccaneer starts off with a rowboat, brother. Every Buccaneer starts off with a little dinghy, just a little rowboat. Next thing you know, he wants a bigger yacht, and the next thing you know, the neighbor's got a bigger yacht. Well, God damn it, I need a bigger yacht too. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes, as society, we can tell these buccaneers, look, we are not gonna go into the preemptive attacks against the freedom of association, the freedom of petition, all this type of freedoms. But here's the irony. Elon Musk has said, I don't see the logic of unions. And unions is a fundamental right in every single way. The right of a freedom of association and the right of that freedom of association to then say, we are workers of X company. We want fair share. We don't want to be exploited. And we want, our fair share of the of our work that is pushing you to become this rich motherfucker,
Yeah, straight up.
So
generally specific, this would probably be a really good conversation with you. and I can catch it if you need to. But we're really talking about the possible limitations for people who have accumulated the mass of fortune. I'm not even talking about for people who have done it through, say, through their companies, but just the people who represent it as having a significant amount of wealth. How exactly do we regulate that? Should there be a cap on them? All that different stuff. That's what me and Disto and actually Uncle Fatty are talking about.
Yeah, and I just saw a comment there. Picasso that was saying unions should be allowed but not required. Unions are a fundamental right, and as such, the
And if you want to
requirement.
protect literally people, you should have unions.
Exactly. Now, I do agree that unions should be a free enterprise and a free decision as to involvement. Where I disagree, and I have been part of unions myself, is
Oh
unions.
yeah, I've dealt with union reps.
Yeah.
Huh?
I've dealt with union reps that at the end of
Yeah,
the day, like even they're coerced because they're not really there for you. They're there to
exactly.
secure the contract.
So the action of unions as that expression of that freedom of association to protect the interests of the worker cannot be
Allowed
coerced,
but not
and we
required.
can
Yep.
and and we
Yes.
can agree on that. However, because of, and I tell you, look, I have an example here in Costa Rica with the ANEP, which is the private and public union of employees, one of the major ones, where the head of that union had been in power for 28 years. And people like me are saying, fuck off, get the hell out of here. You've done your share. I do believe that the head of unions and the elected um, directive of unions should also behave like government. Term limits, clear and concise obligations of transparency towards those who elect them. All those neat things about government.
Okay, so generally specific. Welcome to the stage, man. Welcome to the stage. To do a little quick catch up, we've been at this for a little bit now, but the concept of all this is that people have had this long going conversation about what should we do about people who are rich. And I tried to separate the person from their company, even though they made all their masses from all the different businesses they have. We're talking about the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates, the Warren Buffetts, whatever. But when there's an aspect of how can somebody be making billions of dollars, have a network of billions? We're just talking about the individual themselves, not necessarily their companies, that they have excess to give away if they wanted to. Should there be a cap on people who make a certain amount of money? I was generous enough to say to go with the people who went on there. I did it for and I did against as well. The people who were for, I said, well, what if we did a cap, say like 500 million, which I think is still a significant amount of money for someone to be able to, to live on in general. But I do believe also in the aspect of freedom and how exactly do we want to take away somebody who literally earned every cent by all their hard work. The idea that if we try to limit people to a cap, then they will be less likely to be the people who want to be innovative. They will be the like people who want to invest in other projects that we get everything we have now, like the electric cars, like our iPads, whatever. Because if they know that they're going to be limited, then why should they ever work hard to have their chemical endorphins stimulated to bring us more shit? And we kind of got into a whole conversation about it. Let's just say if they were capped, where would all that other discretionary money go to? We know that let's just be honest, we're all gonna say it. We know we can't leave that to our government to actually distribute that stuff, it, you know, respectfully across people. But there's people who are like, well, if we cap them off, they can quote donate and give that to lower people who can be able to rise up. But let's be honest, we've had people like say Jeff Bezos and like freaking Bill Gates who have donated a significant portion of their wealth. And there's plenty of people that still just can't manage to give up, to get up in the world. So, what exactly should be the right way to do it? Is it taxation? How exactly should we tax? Like, are we just taking a cap that again that would hinder the process for people who are moving up? What exactly would be the best way to get around it? And that's kind of what Ditso, Uncle Fatty, and myself were kind of getting into. What's good, Locksmith?
Yeah, I think
You got the Reader's Digest of that.
yeah, no, that was really good. Thanks for catching me up, and hello, gentlemen. And I mean, you kind of really hit the nail on the head when you said it would kind of ruin individual need to try to achieve or innovate. It sounds like an intro into socialism / communism / equity / equality / DEI / ESG / I mean, it's all the kind of nonsense that they're pushing right now. It's kind of destroying what I would consider to be one of the greatest civilizations, meaning the West, not just America. Right now is being destroyed piecemeal, little by little. So to the point where how much money does one man or one woman truly need? That's a really great question to ask. I mean, I've said this to my wife many, many times now. Well, what does one man consider to be riches or wealth? Right. So for me, going out in the back with my chickens running around the yard and birds and my little mini orchard and my compost area and my grape arbor and my 9 raised garden beds on 0.3 acres of land, 0.3, not even a full acre. I feel like I'm a king. Now, that said, would it, like I went out, I took my wife out for a pizza today. You know, one pizza was like $20, $23, $24. And we, you know, she had a slice, I had a slice, left a $5 tip. That's a lot of money for us. Now, can you imagine money having absolutely zero meaning to you? Now, if money has no meaning to you, meaning me spending $30 being a lot of money on a motel for a night with bed bugs and everything else, and some rich dude spending $3,000 on the same motel, to him, that's a cheap motel, right? It's like he'd be worried about bed bugs spending $3,000 a night on a hotel. I mean, he must just buy the hotel and make sure it's all clean. But so, I mean, and I'm going on and on and on to say that, you know, these
right.
metrics, these metrics though are very individualized, but they're also a collective thought. Like, for instance, I would not want to be so rich that going to the movies and buying popcorn or whatever with my wife and then maybe having dinner afterwards or before wouldn't be like a big deal, right? Like
A whole life decision.
well, not necessarily a whole life decision, but like, you know, it's meaningful. It's
got to budget that in, you know. Gonna
Right,
need 2 weeks
yeah.
advance on that, babe.
But so it's like, it's one of those situations where to me that makes life more interesting. Whereas to someone else, that's like, dude, I'm not interested in that struggle. But, you know, like, and I'll bring it to Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, to live is to suffer. We were never promised a life without suffering, but we were promised life and life more abundantly. And if to live is to suffer, well, there's some suffering that goes along with that. And suffering, I think, brings purpose. Purpose brings meaning. Meaning brings, it's, you know, life, the meaning of life. Anyway, I digress.
Eloquently put. Yeah.
Can't learn nothing sitting on the couch, right? You got to go out and fail some things
Gotta go out there.
and work your way up the hill, right? You can't just, you know, take the escalator all the way up, right? Unless it's golden.
Where perhaps I give a different perspective. The hardships of life are neither to be enjoyed or to be suffered. They are to be lived. Understanding that the process on which one experiences those hardships can have those concepts, which, and in another conversation we can elaborate, of what we call either suffering, enjoyment, or anything in between. So what I'd say in a very simple fashion, life is about the decisions and the actions one can take and the consequences of those decisions, actions. At the end, if there is suffering, one has to be held responsible for that suffering that the decisions of actions of an individual has committed. If there's enjoyment, then there's the consequences of enjoying the fruits of the labor, to say it that way.
Well, I think that goes back to the 49-51 of the balance, because both sides believe that they're doing the just thing for humanity, that their way is the way, and that whoever it is you have to step on, and even though that there's homelessness today that I can't do anything about, right? We can all rationalize and justify our side of the story, right? But we don't want to live in the other footsteps, and we don't want to give up that. I mean, it's the free market, that right? Is this not the free market at its best?
As much as people try to complain against it, you're absolutely right.
mean,
It is
right?
the market at its best.
The way,
The market
isn't this just the free market can't exist without this?
There's
Right.
nothing more dangerous than a fool with a belief that they're right, but there's nothing more beneficial than an individual who acts upon the need of reason.
Yeah, that's what creates the innovation, right? That's what creates the new thought, the adapt and overcome, right? The find a way, find a need, fill a need, find a hole in the system and work the system. Whatever it is, that our brain is always going that way, to a personal strive and lust and desire and coveting and wanting more than what we can see our neighbor has. Isn't that that's part of the thing?
In my own personal case, my drive for action is based on the simple thing, or on the simple premise, that evidence is telling us that something is wrong, that something is having dire consequences, and we need to act to change that to the best of our abilities. Knowing very well
am I telling you that it's wrong while I'm sitting in my Lamborghini, or am I telling you it's wrong when I'm sitting in a cold bath out in a field somewhere, like next to an abandoned apartment? Like, you know what I mean? It's all point of view.
Crying in the Lambo.
Right? Crying in the Lambo about the people that I have to step on to drive my Lambo.
I mean, it is really interesting how, like, I've seen dudes like kind of like man on the street, where they got a clipboard and they're going in front of these colleges, and they're like, "How do you feel about should college be free?" And they're all like, "Yeah, college should be free." And it's all these liberals willing to sign up. And then there's like this one last box, and he says, "Well, how much out of your monthly salary are you willing to give,
right,
so that this can be free for everyone else?" And they're like, "Oh,
nothing."
Well, no, I can't
Exactly.
give anything. Everyone's real easy when it comes to giving away other people's money, but when it comes to your money, suddenly you're a little more careful.
And it's just so funny because, like, the same thing, like, most people don't even think about it in terms of just general education. Someone has to pay for that. You mean the public school that I went to, somebody's paying for? Absolutely. Like, what? So why would you not think that post-secondary education would not be exactly the same way?
Well,
and most people are not trained to think that way.
We all want more jails in our backyard too, right? No, only public schools. No more jails in my backyard, right?
No more
public
jails.
Schools, you betcha. Yeah, that's the 49-51.
But here comes the Latin American. Look. My societies, we've understood one simple thing. It's a mixed system. We require individuals as we require that society, that bien común, or the commonwealth, the common good. If you ask me, my actions of the last of my adulthood, have I given money I have earned in a altruistic way to somebody else or to a group of people? Yes, I have. Have I given my time and my dedication to change those things or those realities that are creating hardship for groups of people? Yes, I have. And have I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to win money out of this? No. Have I also worked like anybody else on the sports books, on the call centers, on construction, etc., to earn my own living and earn my own bread? Yes, I have. But, and this is something I've seen a lot in my societies, we value more the common good than just the individualistic sense. And that separation between what's the United States and Latin America has been so for at least 200 to 248 years. Where
You think that's because most folks are Catholic?
Look, Latin America is extremely interesting because you have a mixture between Catholic, Christians, secular, atheists.
Sure.
That we that when push comes to shove, we forget about any ideology, and we get there to get the things done. So we don't give a damn about liberal Christians, etc. In fact, I've had Christians grab the Bible, throw it on a trash can, and tell me that God doesn't work for shit, even though I'm a Christian. The real God that works for something is the one that tells me that I'm gonna work with you as an atheist to change this shit.
Oh, I don't know how many heathens you are around. I know I definitely don't see that.
I've seen it. I've seen it. You know, I've lived through it. But I think that has to then go back to the fiber of the society.
I mean, literally, we have Christians today telling other Christians that my Jesus trumps your Jesus.
Oh, that I've seen. That much I've seen. But
It's the same dichotomy. I mean, I've seen like holy socks, you know, like Full Metal Jacket style, where you throw a little pocket
jacket. Let's go.
And beat people with your socks with the Bible in it, you know, holy socks. Like
what? I just got into it with probably about a month ago. I got into it with some Catholic guy who titled himself Father something. Well, the Bible says very clearly, "Call no man father."
Right.
And I wasn't trying to upset the guy, but
right.
I said, is Jesus Christ risen? And he said, yes. I said, then why is he still attached to your crucifix? And he immediately started to reach
wrong.
And then he immediately, because it says make no graven images. That's a graven image of Christ who's still attached to a cross, suffering for all eternity.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of those jokes against Catholics because
it's not even a joke.
Crazy.
A lot of symbols.
I didn't even mean it. Yeah, I didn't mean it rudely.
Yeah,
I just matter of factly, and I wasn't trying to like dunk on the guy. I was genuinely trying to have a conversation with him. Yeah. And he got real triggered, and I'm like, he started to reach for. I'm like, you're gonna kick me, right? And he's like, yeah. Well, I mean, blah blah blah. I said, okay, well, hey, go in peace, man. And to your point, I don't think that we serve the same Jesus. So that you're talking about my Jesus trumps your Jesus. Well, my Jesus isn't still hanging on a cross. I know that for a fact.
Doesn't mean that one's better than the other is the thing, though.
Well,
we are so.
It means one's false and one's true.
Hyper focused on this divide and conquer tactics that are being thrown against us. You know,
can we agree that either Jesus is still on a cross or he's risen? Which is
here we go.
Neither. In my case, neither.
Hey, the First Amendment is built on the fact that we all get to believe in whatever the fuck we want to, right?
Oh, I love this question. No. We need to go around. Listen, is he still on the cross or he's not on the cross anymore?
I don't give a damn.
I mean, we sell the crucifix both ways, with the man on and with the man off. Which one is it?
One of them is right.
In my case, I'm an atheist. I don't give a damn. For me, the idea of Jesus Christ is an idea a weapon of mass destruction that has dire consequences in the history of my own people.
Well,
So
I would encourage you to repent.
Pablo Presbyterian killed Catholics, killed Christians just to get back our territory, and was successful.
I asked
So
this question knowing that he was atheist. I knew this was going. I knew where this is going.
I know you knew.
Well, the Christian in me would say that. Sorry, the former ordained Christian in me would say that Jesus lives inside all of us, right?
Well, that would be a helper.
Well,
And the ex-former ordained Christian in me and current spaghetti worshiper would say, may the tentacle of the spaghetti monster reach and touch you.
I do like spaghetti, but you know, Uncle Fatty, I love your answers, but it didn't quite answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus
may
on
the
the cross,
Gorgonzola.
Jesus off the
They
cross.
want to. As an American, I would say that, you know what, whatever you want to do, badass for you, man. Badass for you, bro. You do you as badass as you want to do it, man. You do it all the way.
I can't.
You do it all the way.
May the bruschetta and the pesto guide the light of your pasta.
Ramen.
Ramen.
You see this deflection? We can't get the solid answers. God.
Hey, man.
I gave you a solid answer.
I'm not going to tell anybody else what they can and can't do, but I'll tell you what.
Oh, I want your answer.
I really do believe in the red letters.
I don't want
Bible.
everyone else's answer. I want your answer.
I really do. I'm a red letter Bible guy. I'm a red letter Bible guy. I love the red letters. I do think that Jesus walked the earth. Mm-hmm. I do think that he was a special human being. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I can have different ways of viewing what human beings are, and maybe they're hybrids sometimes. To answer a different question, I would say that, you know, some folks would say that we humans down here on Earth really have no clue about what's going on as far as like Star Wars and Star Trek and all that stuff goes. And, you know, think of the movie like Elysium mm-hmm. in comparison to Buck Rogers.
Mm-hmm. You said
think
Buck
about
Rogers?
us like 1,000 years ago.
Resla,
and where humans
you got some gray in your beard. You know, don't be trying to dodge it like you don't know Buck Rogers.
Oh no! Wait, listen. It was a little bit before,
but you're catching.
Come on.
What about MacGyver? More of
Buck
MacGyver
Rogers
thing.
was in the 50s. I was born in 81. Even I know.
If my grandfather didn't see it, I really didn't want to.
No, it's nano, but BD. What's up, Buck Rogers? Remember the little dog looking robot thing?
Oh, yeah.
BD.
Yeah, that's
Buck Rogers. Yeah, I remember that. No, listen, man.
It's all
look,
about love.
I respect you not trying to tell other people how they should conduct themselves, but
I mean, it's all about love. I preach for love. I fight for love where I see folks potentially taking advantage of each other. I'll try to, you know, white knight myself in there and simp at the same time, you know, because ambidextrous. Right? I just, you know, I think the red letters are all about love. I think Jesus was all about love. You know, we have to judge and discern, and we have
since everybody left. You know, so a whole bunch of people left now, and they got people that's fluctuating back and forth. Sometimes we jump to 10, sometimes we going to 0, sometimes we going to 4. But for those who are already here, got the question: if you're a believer, is Jesus still on the cross, or is he off the cross? That's the question.
Even if it's 49-51, you know, because as a Libra, I definitely look for balance and look for that dichotomy of the 49-51, because one side always believes and the other side believes just as much. You know, it's a matter of a small amount of ideals and thoughts and amount of love that we put into our cause that tips that scale, you know, and love always wins no matter what. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. We would have killed off ourselves and everything else already. So
look,
We're not a virus in that sense, but we are a bacterial being. We are a thing that has to adapt and overcome to sustain our overall life.
Fatty, I know so many people that would disagree with this whole concept of love always winning.
I know.
No,
I know.
look,
Well, Fatty, you said you're a Bible believer.
Yeah. I'm
and you said that
ordained Christian.
You said that Jesus is love. Do you know that Jesus only spoke of the love of God one time and to one
Yep.
person in private? Do you know who that person was?
But he did preach for
Do you
the
know who that
overall
person?
betterment
Do you know who that person was?
to Paul.
No, to Nicodemus in private
Mm-hmm.
in a secret meeting at night. Nicodemus was like one of the main Pharisees, right?
That came for him.
Yeah, and
Nicodemus was on that ass. He was coming
said,
for him.
"For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son." That's the only time that Jesus talked about Him being love, i.e., Him, God, the Holy Spirit being love. But we are to love our
Talking
Lord
about
God.
concepts,
Well, hold
though,
on,
right?
hold on,
The concept
hold on,
of love,
hold on,
and not just the
hold
word
on.
of love, right?
Hold on. That we are to love God with all our mind, body, heart, and soul. Not that He's to love us no matter what we do.
Right.
So you got it backwards. You got it all backwards. You know, you need to obey, and there be no God before me, that I am the Alpha and the Omega, to love thy Lord, thy God, with all thy heart, mind, and body and soul, and that there'll be no God before him, to love thy neighbor as you love thyself. So Jesus isn't love. God isn't love. He commands us to love. So again, you're misquoting God. Red letters. There you go. That's Jesus's words.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk,
are you quoting?
concept of love, the actual
So
word.
no. So El Picasso asked the question. So love.
This is an easy argument. It's a very easy argument. Okay, it's a red letter argument. I have these all the time.
It's not an argument.
I'm about to ask you later.
It is. It is. It's not an argument as far as we're arguing. You know,
so it is an argument, or it isn't.
It's the other point of view. Okay. So right now you're giving me the 51%. Okay, and I'm going to give you the 49, and verify that your 51 is correct.
I'm not even sure what you're referring to, but go ahead. I'm listening. I'm
this
willing to learn. I am absolutely
This
willing to learn. I'm a young Christian.
This the point of view that I'm just trying to get across is that my 49%, in my point of view on this topic, is this much different than yours. Okay, and we're focused on the gap being this big, but it's not.
No, you say we, like some royal. Is that a royal we?
About that
hold on,
Here's what I'll tell you about. I'll tell you about the whole thing. It's a very easy argument. Very easy argument.
I don't need people to talk for me. I can talk for myself.
It's the concept of love, and it's not the use of one single word. And when we look at the Bibles, both of them, okay, what we don't do is focus on single little things, right? We focus on the idea and the concept of what those words are constructing, right? And the overall theme of the book, right, is not judgment and hate and using individual things as ammunition against each other, right? It's about being a bright, shining light that is an example for others, right? It's not about the judgment and the fucking hatred and the fucking you are this and you are that and the divide and conquer bullshit. That's the bullshit I fight against. Okay?
Fatty, can I ask you a simple? Can I ask a simple question?
I think unity is what will bring us together, and not divide and conquer tactics. Right?
Fatty, can I ask you something in all sincerity? Would you be willing to travel back in time to 11/4/92 or 1492 if you use Gregorian calendar? Because the sons of bitches that came here did not understand that little concept that you're saying, man. I wish they had understood it. Maybe things would have, you know.
I would trade places with Timothy Leary. I would definitely.
Let me tell you something.
Go a different route on that one, but
in the circumstance of this conversation, it's different. Obviously, the question of if you believe it's Jesus still on the cross or
Still
off
on
the
the cross or
cross,
not?
I'm not a believer. First, I have no beliefs. I function under my dialectical
Silence, Degen.
structure. Is yes. See, I'm sorry, my friend, but that's the Christian love. Nothing like the Christian love when an
I'm
atheist comes
smiling,
into
dude.
the
I'm
thing.
smiling.
Yeah, I'm smiling too. Look at me, man. But hey, that's example of the Christian love I'm referring to that meets that conversation that you were having. So that's why I asked you about, going back to 11,492. Anyhow, point being here is
Love is the sharpest dagger.
I'm gonna say it real simple. In the
Always.
12,024 years of human civilization, on the 2 million years of Homo sapiens sapiens being here, out of which the last 70,000 we pretty much eradicated the Neanderthal, the Denisovan, and so many other humanoid species, and we were the ones left on all that. I'm gonna say something simple, straight out. May the heat of the ramen on a good
I'll come after my ramen. Go ahead. You're going to come after my ramen. Go ahead.
no and the heat of the good ramen with a good kotsu broth, may it embrace the rest of your life in such a tasteful manner that when you receive that ramen through the mouth, you shall feel peace and love of the greatest kind and
Sounds like you've
force.
been to prison receiving that ramen through the mouth. What?
Ramen.
Oh, you meant ramen? Are we talking
ramen,
ramen like
ramen.
noodles? Are you talking about
yeah.
getting rammed in the mouth?
No. When
Hey,
you say
listen,
tonkatsu, it's
What in the
authentic. It's
world are you eating
homemade
down there?
ramen.
it's homemade. So listen,
You can't
Well, that's
get that in
definitely
the
specific.
organic. That's
You
definitely
can't get that in
General
the
organic.
specific.
bag.
Prison.
My
There's
friend,
no dehydration. It's not in the bag.
my friend, I don't know if that was the voice of experience talking in regards to prison. I hope not.
Never
But
been,
in
dude.
the event of it being your voice of experience, well, Gorgonzola teaches us that.
The voice of prison. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one to bring it up. Hey, it's a voice of his experience. I have to assume that is the voice of experience. If my assumption of deduction is incorrect, please correct me. But in the words of the great Gorgonzola, may the cheesy strings of life continue embracing you.
Nice as Cheez-Its.
Thy noodles come, thy sauce be on
Wow.
top.
Okay.
Green
All
Parmesan.
right.
All
You
right,
can take
now
that in so many different directions. All right. So let me fire off some
Still waiting on
let
an
me fire off
answer.
some questions. Let me see how you guys feel about it. Right. Just based on what the theme of what the actual topic has been about. So to try to dredge it back from the beginning and then bring it home. Is it morally acceptable for someone to have billions while others are barely able to afford necessities? Let's go around the panel.
Can you ask it again? Sorry, I've got this.
Sir, is it morally acceptable for someone to have billions of dollars while there are others who are barely able to pay for necessities? Is it okay that someone out there eating the highest quality of Wagyu and porterhouse while someone is out there eating Vienna sausages?
Or nothing.
A simple, straight out answer: no.
Uncle Fatty?
It's got to be a no. Even if that no is only 51%.
Jess, what's going on?
Well, it's an interesting question because are we asserting that someone got? Listen, I've already told you how I feel rich, not having a whole lot of money, but the money that I do have compared to somebody in abject poverty in India that's rummaging around in a dirt pile to try to scrounge up enough to get 15 cents worth of plastic to turn in to recycle. I live like an absolute king. So to that person, I might as well be a billionaire, right? Is it morally wrong for me to have what I have in comparison to a billionaire, or that billionaire in comparison to God? Is it wrong for God to have what he has? So it's one of those situations where when you ascribe morality to it, there's a struggle for me there. Money is neither moral nor immoral. It's the love of money that's evil. Money is
correct.
In my opinion, money is just a lubricant.
It's a tool.
It's a this for that. It's a dozen eggs for a gallon of milk. It's
Agreed.
a barter, but a different type of barter. So
And before money, we had beads and whatever else. I agree.
Generally,
to ascribe a morality to it would be to have to individually look at the person wielding that money. Go ahead, D. What's up?
Genuine question. Not. What's your position on Timothy 6:17?
I haven't read it yet.
Let me quote it. Timothy 6:17, command those who are rich in the present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provide us with everything for our enjoyment. Timothy 6:18, command them to do good. Timothy 6:18, command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. And on the subsequent verse, it tells us, Timothy 6:19, in this way they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. Would you, based on this, would you agree that one of the major commandments that your God is telling you is that wealth for wealth is immoral, that the obligation of those who become wealth is to do good upon their neighbors, upon those who surround them? You agree with that, Tenant?
I don't see how you could disagree with it. If it's in the Bible, it's meant to be pursued and used. But when you keep saying words like "my God" and you're trying to moralize and use my scriptures against me like a cudgel and a shield at the same time, it makes you into an absolute coward.
I do take issue with someone who says "my God" and "my Bible." It was never. You cannot take possession.
Let me then rephrase it in this sense.
Yeah.
In the God that you are believing right now,
it's from somebody
who does
we're talking about for people who use those phrasing of words.
Yeah,
you're free to use it. I just find it very disingenuous when you're an atheist and your whole worldview wouldn't exist if my God didn't exist.
Oh, well, no, but that's the thing. GS.
No?
I'm also talking about people who are religious and they use that terminology,
those words. And generally, another day we can have that discussion in regards. Unfortunately, you and I fundamentally disagree on that sense.
Yep.
But if we want to have genuinely that conversation, we have to define on a whole series of terms to agree upon the semantic and then work ourselves in a dialectical to reach an epistemological or an ontological conversation in a genuine way. Because fundamentally, what you said, my worldview wouldn't exist without yours, is utterly and completely false. It's untrue. It's not real.
Prove it.
I'm like, you might have to say a little bit more than that.
I mean, you're saying a lot of fancy words that I don't know. Word salad.
Okay. So, in other words,
for a nice simple Greek salad.
So, in other words,
based dressing. Give it to me.
I don't want to divulge the fundamentals of this conversation.
Well, then let's not do that. Let's not do that.
We can pick that up.
But he's gonna do it anyway and say a bunch of fancy
words. No.
Act like he's dropping a mic and dunking on me at the same time.
No, what I was gonna say is
I will not allow dunking on a conversation that's not part of this one. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's playing basketball. I'm over here on the football field. So I don't know. He's using a football bat. He's playing with a football bat right now.
I'm playing Mahjong actually. But
sports
anyhow,
ball. Let's do sports.
I'm playing Mahjong, but anyhow, general and specific. Yes, let's not divert this conversation. But the point being is,
while he gets ready to divert it, but go ahead.
No. The point being is, I fundamentally disagree with your claim, which I consider false.
You said that 5 minutes ago. You said a bunch of words.
So going back to the conversation.
If we need to have a segment or a conversation in the future, where we can we can talk about all these
L-
theist debates or whatever. We can get into that. That is
So-
not the premise of this particular
Yeah.
show.
So going back to the point of wealth and this type of thing,
Well, the query, what was the query? The query was, is it moral for someone to have more than they'll ever need and not give it?
yeah, and
Well,
me,
no, it was. Is it morally acceptable for people who have so much in abundance, while there are so many people who are striving with barely anything of what we consider to be the necessities, whether it's housing, whether it's food, whether it's clothing?
Well, the Bible says very clearly, if you don't work, you don't eat. So if people that work their butts off and accumulate wealth and riches, whether that's not me, by the way, if everyone knows that all they got to do is sit on their butt with their hand out, like most of the beggar nations that I've actually been deployed to, I've seen it firsthand. They'll keep putting their hand out as long as you keep giving. They're not willing to work if you're going to give them something for free. There's no need to work if you're going to give them something for free. So yeah, if you don't work, you don't eat. That's in my Bible.
Okay, all right. So let me ask another question. How much wealth is too much? Like, should there be a hard number, or should we allow society to basically naturally regulate what's going on?
Well, the Bible says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added onto you.
Yep.
Meaning, if you're seeking first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, then according to what Dee was saying earlier, you would be giving. You would not be gathering and keeping and coveting. You'd be sharing it according to the premise. But I can't speak for other people. Only God knows their heart. I don't know their heart.
Uncle Fatty?
you're muted, Fatty.
I think he's lagging. Is it true that Uncle Fatty's lag in real life? Get it? Fat kids lag in real life. Get it?
Yeah, you're
He's way thinner than I am, by the way.
You can't hear you. Wow,
We can't hear you.
you can't hear you.
I'm asking for
He's
the
making
morbidly
hand
obese
gestures.
guy
Now
in
we
the
do a
room.
dictionary.
Can't hear you, Uncle Fatty.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
I know.
All right.
I roll real
there he
big
is.
joints.
Oh, here we go. We can hear you.
There
now.
we go.
He's playing with us. You see that? He's playing games. Why are you playing with us?
I was just trying not to interrupt, and because I tend to blurt out loud when other people are talking, and I try not to
I do
be
it too.
rude that way. But it's all a matter of perspective, right? Because when we come to the table and we say, my point of view says this is the right way, doesn't it kind of just invalidate the whole conversation and not even allow the other point of view to have any credibility whatsoever? Because Buddha would say, like, don't worry about any possessions at all, ever. So you shouldn't even have to gain any to, like, consider yourself to be ahead of anybody else, right? So it's just a concept of your raised reality, of your backing your religion, your thought process, the neuropses, the synapses in our brain that have been built over time. That's all this is like we're addicted to what we know because of dopamine and serotonin.
You know that Buddha told them not to worship him, but they did it anyway.
Yeah, he sure did.
Of course.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Lord Shiva would say, eat your enemies.
All right, so
Okay, I kind of like that point of view. Eat the rich. That works for me.
Damn it.
Right? I mean, shit.
Ditto.
It's all point of view, guys. But we have to have the ability to come to the table and not say that my point of view is the only way, because that creates a argumentative fallacy. That creates a point of bad faith. That creates a point of my way or the highway. And I'm only here to prove you wrong, when actually I'm here to find the similarity that we have between each other.
Would you agree that
on these little?
But would you agree that there's a right way and a wrong way to do something?
Yeah, could you say similarity and similarity is all based on perspective?
I can agree that both can be right. Right? That both are correct at the same time, but one might only be 51 and the other one might be 49.
Okay. So 4 is equal to 4. You're telling me it could be right and false at the same time?
4.0 can also be equal to 4.0, right? But when we look at 3.9 compared to 4.1, it's
Oh,
still
so now we're using
still that-
Bush's fuzzy
it's-
math. Come on, man.
it's this tiny of a thing that we're focusing on, is what I'm saying, guys.
Yeah, that needs to
And
be
it's when
elaborated a little
humanity
more.
focuses on the difference between us, right? When we focus on that difference between us, it's when shit goes wrong.
Mhm.
Okay. And I think all religious books across all of the world ever. Okay. I think all of the 4,200 gods worshipped on earth today had but one meaning, right?
Mhm.
Is to get along, right? Is to love, is to come together.
So,
Right.
so
And
if
not,
Well,
not
I
focus
don't
on the
about some
difference.
of our Greek gods. They definitely warred against each other. Ditto,
Right.
what do you thought about
Yeah,
that
It's
as
about
the
to-
us
atheist
and
of the group?
ours,
As the atheist of the
and
group.
us and
Yeah.
ours, right?
To
And yes,
answer your
there's judgment in the stories, and yes, there's discernment in the stories, and yes, there's ways of us rationalizing and justifying whatever we want out of any religious book ever told to justify our shitty actions against ourselves and our fellow people, right? Because we know we're doing shit to other. We know we're not as good as we can be, right? This is where Catholic guilt has infected the whole entire world. Okay, is that even Buddhists and Hindus used to think that there was such thing as purity without original sin, and right, this idea of original sin, being born with the original sin, right, is what holds back some and not the others, right, and allows the ultra rich to justify and rationalize and trickles down into society as
Okay, well,
of how we can do shit,
Fatty,
of how we
Fatty,
can
I'm gonna stop you there
scheme,
because that if we're
right?
talking about the Buddhists and if we're talking about the Buddhists and the Hindus, then we're already talking about the original sin and being born and whatever. Then we're also kind of stating which is a better religion than the others because one already says that you were born already a sinner.
Right.
So we're not gonna
Right.
really
That's
jump
what broke.
into
That's
that.
what broke the whole thing apart. That's why there's that's why there's now different sects of this. That's
hold on, Fatty. I think we
how did the
to
Mormons?
question itself.
How did Joseph Smith find the tablets in America?
Oh, he's a Joseph Smith.
So
It's all
let
faith,
me
guys. It's all faith. It's all faith from where your point of view is. But we have
So
to
let me-
honor each other's point of view. We have to honor the fact that we all are unique, awesome individuals.
So how do you
And not focus on these little-
well, hold on,
I'll-
Fatty.
hold on.
Wait, because everybody's trying to get in. Fatty,
So, with that, I'll
Fatty, finish your point. Give you a minute for your point. The one did so. Then I want you specific to get in. Go ahead.
I'm on the runway. You know where I'm at.
Okay, so ditto.
Okay. So to answer your question, what would be an ideal cap of economic? What would be the cap for somebody to be rich that we as society can put on to try to balance the situation out? I wouldn't know what the number is, to be sincere, but I would suggest from a policy standpoint, if we go into the policy perspective, that we shouldn't put a cap on a number specifically, but we should put a cap on the actions, on the consequences of those actions, as those buccaneers, entrepreneurs, oligarchs, aristocrats, or whatever you want to call them, do with that money they gain towards society. So I don't know if logically we can start dictating a specific amount, because what made somebody rich 100 to 200 years ago does not make them rich today. Now the numbers are astronomical. Before we talked about millionaires, now we're talking about billionaires, and eventually we'll be talking about trillionaires. So a specific number, I don't know. But my suggestion, as somebody who works on policy and pushing for policy, is that we should use the tools that we have right now and make them better to ensure that when those individuals, those buccaneers, those etc., make that quantity of money, that they are limited and restricted towards the actions they can do against or in so excuse of defending society, or whichever way their belief guides them in that sense. I don't know if that clears your question.
I'm sorry. I lost a little bit because I got distracted with something else. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I'll have to tie it back in. Give me a moment to think about it. Um, so let me ask this question is.
I like what you said there, because it's not about regulating the individual, right? It's about trying to regulate the thought process and the
actions of those individuals towards
of all of
society.
society.
For society,
You know,
right?
of society as a whole has to come together and not.
What's one of our major issues is that
49-51.
we're not really able to
I
get
mean,
that done. As a
It doesn't
society,
matter who you're giving
we're
your
not able
charity
agree.
to. You think you're giving your charity to the right charity, right? And the other side sees that as the wrong charity. But actually, that both those charities have the same goal. It's the betterment of humanity. It's the betterment of their side of humanity.
So let me ask this question, because a lot of people are feeling this way, whether they are the ones who are the most impoverished or disenfranchised, if you want to put it that way, to people who are coming in fresh from our
Cans of dog food
borders.
have a lot of protein, bro. You can get by on a
Hold
can
on,
of
hold
dog
on,
food
hold
and a jug of wine
on, fatty.
for
Hold
like
on,
a week.
I got a whole
Some
new,
people are happy.
new question up here. I got a whole new question up here.
We can't allow
Dude.
people to not be happy being on the streets. That's their choice, right?
Oh, hold up. Ref, we're gonna move forward. Do we believe that do we think that the ultra rich should, do we believe that, or do we think that the ultra rich owes the rest of society anything? Or is it basically enough that they pay taxes and they create jobs? 'Cause that's really what this is all coming down to.
Is it okay if I opine?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go.
Well, so the interesting thing is, and again, I'm trying to not get you canceled or anything, so I'm trying to be very careful about what kind of words I use. During the whole Wu flu, the sweet and sour syphilis, the Fauci ouchie times, they were taxing the crap out of New Yorkers, rich New Yorkers, and people were fleeing, and everything was closing down. And they weren't letting people succeed, basically. I mean, hospitality industry was shut down. Hotels were basically hemorrhaging money and profits, and still having to maintain some kind of a staff to keep the maintenance up. Eventually, and they kept raising taxes on the rich. Well, they end up saying, screw this, we're out of here. And if you look into the newspaper, they're actually trying to and California did something similar. They're trying to continue to put a levy on, like Joe Rogan, for instance, who went to Texas from California. They're still trying to say that he owes California tax money, even though he's not living in California anymore. Talk about communism. So what happens is when you put upon the pretty much the only people that are paying taxes, they're going to go somewhere else, man, whether that's a whole nother country, so. And like, I mean, I can give you an example of like, if you want, I'll let someone else go, but I'll give you an example of South Africa, pre-apartheid and post-apartheid. But go ahead, I'll let someone else opine.
All right, Ditto, go ahead.
Me?
Yes,
right.
sir.
Okay, to answer your question, do this millionaires, buccaneers, etc. owe society? Yes, they owe society in the sense that without the society and the involvement of society in their ideas, they themselves alone would not have been able to achieve the goals that they are achieving. On a second sense, do they owe society? No, because society cannot enforce a debt of condition without a clear framework of work. So in a very simple sense, when an individual, through the means of freedom of association, becomes this rich, this powerful, this illusion of power, etc., they are to be subjected to clear restrictions to avoid their ego making them be like a god. But society must enable, without restrictions, the freedom of association. I don't know if that makes it clear.
That's what religion's all about, isn't it? Like any religion, it's about self accountability. It's about holding ourselves to a, you know, it's allowing that higher being, right? That higher power, whatever it is, to be our
That's a matter of
accountability partner,
perspective, Fatty. That's really a
right?
matter
To
of
be our
perspective.
conscience,
Because
right?
some people say
to be
it's
that
self
voice in our head
accountability
that
and some
says,
don't.
right?
Like that's really a matter of perspective. Because like I've talked to so many people. Some people look at it as self accountability. Some people look at it as a way to hold accountability over others. And I'll be honest with you, like many people don't want to talk about it, but there are a lot of people who literally they fall into religion because they're simply afraid. They look at it as mafioso almost. Like if you don't pay your protection prayer, something might happen to you.
Sure.
Let me take it out of the context of religion, and let me put it this way: the things we have strived as humanity, and in the construction of this idea of civilization, is that accountability means not only an individual but a collective necessity. That means we recognize that individuals are assholes that can behave like assholes and they do actions like assholes, aka this guy, you know. So we know that, but in order to, and this is a concept that has been internationally for the past, since the end of the war, in order to minimize the assholery of those individuals that think themselves because they became rich, or they're seen as a messiah, or they're seen as a pillar of industry, or as a romanticized as a great buccaneer, whatever way, are achieve a greater power that then can determine the reality of others. We are saying as societies, fuck no, fuck you, and we're going to restrict you.
Yeah, it's good points. I'm sorry I'm making all these faces, guys. I'm not reacting to what you guys are saying. I got like this freaking film on my eyes from the allergy or the pollen's like insane right now. Seriously, I'm like sitting here trying to get it off my eyes. I'm not pulling face. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I wanted to say something that Fatty said earlier, where he talks about we need to focus on the things that we agree on more than the things that the little thing that there's this little thing we disagree on and we turn it into this giant chasm. I like the spirit of what you're saying, and I received that. This is what I want to say about D said billionaires need society to become billionaires, yet if that's the case, then why aren't we all billionaires? We're all constantly surrounded by society. So what is it that separates a billionaire from myself, Resla, Fatty, or D? Why aren't you a billionaire? You're surrounded by society. What's your excuse?
Freedom of association.
Is there an intangible that you lack that they have?
No.
And no, then what? Then why aren't you a billionaire? Hold on, D. Hold on. Why aren't you a billionaire giving me a new house?
Because
I want a new car. Baby need a new pair of shoes.
Hold on. Because
hurry up.
The conclusion you're trying to do is a fallacy in the sense that.
How is it a fallacy? I'm using your own argument.
Generally, did I interrupt you when you were speaking?
You're not gonna scarecrow me, dude, with a straw man.
Okay. Regardless of what, can we just answer the question that was posed to you?
Okay. So, based on the fact that people come together with a mutual goal, whichever that be, economic or non-economic, etc., we have to recognize that that action of coming together is a necessary requirement for then those individuals that we call billionaires or buccaneers or whatever to reach those levels of heightness. Without that involvement of freedom of association, and that we're calling today, an individual by themselves cannot become millionaires or billionaires, etc. Most economic actions and most actions derived from a mutual goal require the involvement of many many people with the same interest or the same ideas or similar ideas. So your argument, it emanates from a individualistic standpoint that does not subject itself to the reality of how society and how our reality works.
Wait, it was your argument. It was your argument. How is it my argument? I'm just testing your argument, and now you're skipping over it like it's hopscotch, dude.
How am I skipping over it?
Because
your
I know why
argument.
this. Okay. So you weren't born to a rich family, right? You weren't born into a systemic system where the
Right.
rich get to pay for how things are regulated and actually done, right?
Me? No, I was born into middle class, my friend. In fact,
So
to a father,
that's the answer right there. That's the answer.
That's kind of the point that's being made. Yeah.
There is a systemic system, right, that benefits the rich because they get to buy and make policy, right?
And that's what my birth was simple. I was rejected and was given onto adoption because the woman who had me biologically couldn't sustain. I was the fifth kid. There were 4 kids before me, and then there was another kid after me. But anyhow, that's my story.
I'm adopted too.
So in this sense,
Me too.
What?
No shit.
What?
No shit.
Interesting. Something we share. Great.
Not me. I know my mama and daddy.
I know my mom and dad.
I know my mama. I don't know my. I know
I
my.
know my mama. I don't know my biological dad. So I know my biological mother, but she died of tuberculosis 4 years ago.
Sorry to hear that, brother.
Yeah, it happens.
Awesome.
So again, let's go back to this point.
Yes.
Generally specific.
I'm awesome. I get it.
Yeah, we love you, brother. Yeah, and I know you love me too. So anyhow,
I do. I do. I very much do.
I know. So here's the thing. General specific counters the argument that billionaires require the freedom of association as that starting point to grow their individual idea. That and on the prior moments of this discussion, we said, okay, so I had posed the metaphorical idea of what comes first, the egg or the chicken. And the discussion that was being had was, well, technically,
What's the answer?
Technically, on the side of Resla, he was saying, okay, without this man, and Elon Musk opening up the doors, then the Freedom Association wouldn't have had. And my counter was that even or regardless of that man who responded to a space-time momentum, those goals can be reached independently of that. But no doubt that that type of injection of that type of individual tends to just naturally blow up the possibilities. But the argument then was Elon Musk, without those people that supported his ideas, that push his ideas, would have never reached the points he's reached today by himself. That's a factual sense. So, understanding that base, the argument generally specific said is, do we all have the same condition to become billionaires? Is that the question you
That,
you
that,
sent?
that's kind of the question. Do you have the
Okay.
potential to become a millionaire? Because if not,
Okay.
why are you not that already?
Yeah,
So-
your argument was that
That you
billionaires
can.
require society in order to become billionaires.
Right.
You and I are both surrounded by society. Why are we all billionaires?
Why are we on billionaires? That's the
The
point that he's
question
making.
is, do we lack a certain intangible that they have that we don't have? Or is it just balls? Is it taking a chance? Is it taking a risk? Is it brain power? Is it ability or lack of ability? Is it
And-
cowardice? Is it braggart?
What are
being
the
a
other
braggart?
factors in play? Yes.
And
Yeah.
to-
What are the
and-
intangibles?
And the
That's my
answer
question.
I gave you a straight out answer. I said no. We do not lack anything in that sense.
And why aren't you a billionaire?
Hold on. the conclusion, the foregone conclusion as to why am I not a billionaire is a false equivalency, because you would have to then agree that the association of people and the goals and the needs
Yep.
of people do not
Help me,
only.
Resla. Help me.
Okay, hold on.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. man.
Hold on. Generally,
Bro,
Can you-
if my response to your argument is a
generally,
logical
you're not
fallacy,
I'm
understanding.
gonna be honest. I'm lost
I'm
because
trying
that didn't make
I'm
sense.
trying to explain. Hold on.
you're saying a lot of
Okay.
words that mean absolutely nothing.
Okay. Yes or no? Generally, when people associate with each other, is it exclusively and uniquely because to make money?
Dan, let me ask you a question.
Again, I ask you a question. Do not answer with a
No,
question.
answer it first
No.
before you ask me a question, because
Yeah,
it's gonna seem like
yes.
it's a segue. Just answer it, and then if you need to move on to another question, just answer it.
He's saying my response to his argument is a logical fallacy, but my argument follows his argument, which would make his argument originally a logical fallacy.
No.
So why
Again,
I'm not going to sit on a freaking retarded
it
merry-go-round
does not
arguing
follow- it
nonsense.
does not
I
follow my
can go
argument.
up and have a conversation with my wife right now and have a better.
No.
Honestly, well, here's the thing. That so you're saying you're trying to follow an argument, whatever, but then you're asking questions that let's be honest, the questions
It
are
would
not
be a
clear.
non sequitur.
They're tailored when they're honestly a nuance. You said when you're having a conversation with regular people, it's always about business. No one does that. The majority of people do not speak about business.
Are you saying
But
things are
everything we do is
transactional?
transactional.
Yeah, I would
Right?
agree.
Everything we do is transactional. So
So
the
let me-
difference is with God, right? We can't expect a transaction because
Hold on.
everything about God is it's about faith.
Let me
And
show
when we
why.
take faith out of each other and only install it somewhere where we should have it.
Okay.
always.
Hold on.
We're
I really
losing
wanna-
it because he's
Yeah,
on
no,
the
hold on.
conversation, and now we're kind of bringing faith also back into it. So now we're moving in three.
Resla,
We're literally moving in
can you
3 points
time
of
me?
triangle.
Can you time me? Give me 2 minutes without interruption. 2 minutes, and I'm going to make the point.
All right, I'm doing 2 minutes on the clock. Go ahead, sir.
I'm going to be very, very forward. One, no, General Specific, you're not following my argument, because my argument is that the association of people, it is required for the ability of arriving goals or ideas or this whole thing about getting things done. That an individual by themselves is limited into the actions that they can do outside of society. So a person like Elon Musk cannot reach the heights it reached without the involvement of that society. You then strawman that argument in the way that you saw it fit, in not understanding the nuance which I am saying. So my first question to you is 1 minute. My question to you is, can a singular individual reach the goals that Elon Musk reached without involving themselves in an association with other humans? Can he do that alone by himself?
No. What's your excuse? You're not alone. You're not by yourself unless you choose to be alone or by yourself. Why aren't you Jeff Bezos? Why aren't you Elon Musk?
I choose just to be a multimillionaire. I don't really want to be a
Yeah,
billionaire.
I identify as right all the time. If we could just pick whatever we want to be, you can be a poor complaining about the rich if that's what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Just fundamentally
enjoy communism.
Generally, you fundamentally agreed with the base tenet of the argument I presented. That individuals by themselves.
No. I engaged. No.
That was not it.
Straw manning me. I engaged your premise and showed you with your own argument that if it were true, what's your excuse?
Exactly.
No, that is a non-sequitur.
And all I hear is I'm a victim. I'm a victim.
No. You're wrong. Because you are forming a non-sequitur. Your foregone conclusion is that all actions are because of economic. In other words,
no. Literally, what we were hearing, and the point of being made is that if you're literally in a society where people who are doing all the, why is it? And if you are a capable human being, that means all of us have the potential to become freaking billionaires. And why? And if we're not lacking in what the hell they were able to do. Because there's very few compared to the most, right? We know what statistics are like, we know what numbers, we know what facts and figures are like. And if you're saying that no, there's really no difference, that we have the same capabilities as they do, then why aren't the majority of us in a society that promotes people to become wealthy, why aren't we that?
Because association of people not necessarily responds to that end goal of Elon Musk. There are other goals into that sense. So
no, we're talking about capabilities. We're talking about people who take risk. We're talking about who make the proper assessment. And you're saying that there is no difference between someone like me who is willing to take risk versus someone like who's Elon Musk, given the fact that we may have different backgrounds, different freaking how we freaking grew up, whatever school that we went through, whatever economic opportunities, whatever people that we have backing us. That it doesn't matter because we both have the same capabilities. What you're saying?
We all have drive.
To be very simple,
same drive, all that stuff. You think Elon Musk and myself have the same drive?
We don't have the same tools.
Hold on. What I'm indicating clearly is we all have the same capability.
Gotta have the tools.
Hold on. We all have the same capability when we associate with other people to reach goals. The problem with the argument that was given by General Specific was that he followed that by saying, then why are we all billionaires? As if that's the only goal or capable goal in an association of people.
In that dynamic, though, I would say that
I'm going to say this about people in general. I'm going to say this about people in general. We are all not built the same. We all have different traumas. We all have different perspectives because of those perspectives, because we don't grow up in an echo chamber, because we are not in a monolith. We are not built the same.
And there lies the answer I gave to General Specific. That's why I said it's foregone conclusion. I said we all have the capability of arriving to a point like Elon Musk, but not necessarily do we have the same interest of reaching that point. That freedom association in regards of how people associate themselves to meet whatever goals,
right?
Not necessarily respond in the same way or interest of Elon Musk. Therefore, that's the whole basis. That's why I criticized General Specific's attempt of a gotcha question. Because it was a nonsense.
Wait. It wasn't a gotcha question. It was based on what you literally stated.
Okay.
He based the question off the premise that you gave.
Let's backtrack. Simple as this. My argument is that in order for people to reach the goals, either like Elon Musk or any other, freedom association is a fundamental necessity in society. Yes or no?
Right.
Okay.
What comes before freedom of association, though? Right? In the First Amendment. Okay. That's the second part of the First Amendment, because the first part and the absolute foundation of all of this humanity and liberty and freedom concept
Can we
is
not
the
go in
fact
there?
that we
Because that's-
honor each other's religion, that everybody has the right to bring what they want to the table, and we put our information on the table, and it's all worth something.
Okay.
Right?
Hold on.
That brings the spirit, that brings the good faith argument into the whole dichotomy that we're talking about. And when we skip over that first part, that you're just as valid as I am. Okay, and that, boom, divide and conquer. That's all. That's everything after that becomes a false dichotomy. It becomes a religious argument. It becomes an argumentative fallacy. It becomes a bad faith thought. And that in there is the problem with freedom, with liberty, with individual liberty, because my right to shit on your rights is not my liberty. It's not yours either. Right. So liberty is the concept and not freedom. Right. And we're so far away from this concept of divide and conquer religion now, where, I mean, by God, a Scientologist tells me what to think.
Can
right?
we, for the moment being, put on freeze the conversation on religion, etc.? I understand the 5 major descriptions on amendment number 1, but right now I want to just focus on the aspect of conversation. So again, let me reinstate this in a very clear way. 1, in order for people to reach goals of any kind, including economic, transactional, etc., the association of people is a fundamental in society. Elon Musk versus Gandhi. Give you an example. Yes, it's an extreme example.
That's a reach. Okay, go ahead.
No, but it's not a reach. Why? Gandhi associated with other people to fight for a cause of independence, to reach that process of independence for his own particular country. That is one form of freedom of association that does not have a necessity of economic wealth or becoming rich or etc. Then Elon Musk is the other side of that freedom of association, where the goal is, I have a dream, I have ideas, but in order to reach those ideas, I need money, and in order to gain that money, I need to do the steps to do that money or gain that money. Okay, now the question, the way General and Specific tried to grab that argument, he wrote it without understanding the basis of what I had already explained and before he came in. So again, the foregone conclusion of asking in a very disingenuous question, why aren't we all billionaires? And asking, do we have the same capability as an Elon Musk? Or do we lack the capabilities of Elon Musk? The answer was strictly no. We don't lack the capabilities of Elon Musk. We are all capable, through association of others, to reach our goals. That's a fact. However,
I'm sorry, that is not a fact.
I mean, I would.
That is very much circumstantial. That is not a fact.
I would say that we all are born with the programming that we get that gives us the sense of drive and the sense of fill a need, find a need, right? And looking for that hole that we can exploit, looking for that gap that we can shoot through, looking for that little thing that can get us ahead of the other and the theys and the thems.
okay.
Right? We need somebody to fight against before we can strive to gain more. Right? We need something to strive for, but also against.
I just realized. Sorry, Patty, but I just realized something really important. Resla and generic. when the question is asked, do we all have the same capability, or are we lacking the capabilities of Elon Musk to associate with others and reach our goals? The answer was no. That inferring or assumption, making an assumption that I'm saying that you reach the goals, it's a complete different scenario, because what we are speaking on is on the base of, do all humans have the capability of forming association, of associating with others to try to reach goals? Yes, everybody has the same capability of doing so. But then, out of nowhere, the argument came into a non sequitur. It does not follow to conclude that the fact of us having all the same capability of associating with others to reach goals would mean that that goal is reached, or that that goal is only to make money, or it, like you said,
I agree.
It's
I agree. You defeated your own argument. That's the whole point.
No, because you constructed an argument over something I never said.
No. Your metrics is that billionaire required society in order to become a billionaire. And I said, if that is your point, then why aren't you a billionaire? Or are there intangibles that he has or she has that we lack?
That's what I heard.
And so God gives us different gifts. You may have a gift to gab, and he might have a gift to hustle.
And that's what I'm criticizing.
You're not hearing the words I'm saying.
Just because we both read does not mean that we read at the same quality.
Okay. Yes. Right. This proves D's point.
That's the point that I'm making.
Yeah.
Yes. That the point it does that the fact that we're able to form connections doesn't mean that we're able to form connections at the same rate, at the same frequency with other people.
Hold on. The problem with the argument of general specific is that the problem of the argument of general and specific is that it's deterministic. So
it's your argument.
My argument is.
You keep saying my argument. I responded to your argument, but you defeated it with your own words.
You are now strawmanning everything.
No, we're stuck on stupid, and I'm getting real annoyed with it. I'll be honest.
Because you are not willing to understand. I've already explained it in many ways. I have said in very simple terms.
Wait, what?
Yes,
I'm not willing
you
to
understand. You are jumping for conclusions. Again, the base of this whole thing is people associate with other people to reach goals. Hold on, stop interrupting for a moment. People associate with others to reach goals. That is the basis of the freedom of association that is established on Republican constitutional, liberal constitutions. That fact, in no way, shape, form, or manner,
that statement or that fact? Is it a fact or is it a statement?
You stated that as a fact.
That's a fact.
No, you keep saying we can agree and we can this, and you keep speaking for everyone else.
Generally, how can I even simplify this?
Well, you can stop sticking your finger in my ass and telling me it's not queer.
It's a fact.
It's super gay. Stop sticking your finger in my ass.
The problem is you can
super gay.
You can stop imposing your deterministic view and saying to me that is reality when it isn't. And by doing so, imposing your perspective as the only perspective valid enough, which is bullshit. You have created
pause. You're claiming things to be fact.
Okay, again,
how are we imposing? You're the only one that's claiming that something to be actual fact.
Okay, hold on. Again, let's get back to the basics.
We can always find a hole, right? We can always find a way of taking somebody's argument and flipping it and saying, without this little tiny thing, right, it would mean all of this, right?
That's what general and specific is doing. That's what I'm criticizing on his argument.
You keep speaking for me. I don't have a problem speaking.
Any argument ever.
Brevity is not something I'm ever been accused of.
I'm speaking for you. I'm speaking against your argument. I'm speaking against your argument.
I feel like I'm talking to a dog.
No, you're talking to somebody who's able to decipher.
Say a lot of fancy words that mean absolutely nothing.
Dude, I've been trying to simplify it as basic as you can.
Wait.
Let me break it down a little bit.
We need you to break
let me
it down.
break it down a little bit.
What you're saying, we're
Okay.
still not finding the agreement of what you're saying because we have to go back and literally saying there was a question that was being made out
it
to
wasn't
literally a scenario that you pointed out that we're not agreeing on.
Okay, so let's go back to that again.
And
yes or no?
Let me take this for a
Wow,
second.
this is like arguing with a woman, dude. I swear to God.
Let me take this for a second.
I want to be. I want to
Logically
get
does
that
not
far.
follow.
I wouldn't even get that far. It's just the point that you're literally putting us to the point where saying that pretty much everybody can even fundamentally agree on the specific thing, and literally it's not that. And you're stating something as a fact when we're saying that human beings are so nuanced.
So if there are particular conditions, deterministic conditions, excusable for general and specific, in regard to why Elon Musk reached the goal he did and others didn't, then he has to provide the argument. Unless he's just trying to do
Elon Musk is the argument. The fact that he exists and you're not Elon Musk is the argument.
Be where he's at.
Fucking moron.
If he didn't have something to manipulate, he wouldn't have found anything to manipulate. He wouldn't be where he's at.
No,
the evidence is not in the absence that Elon Musk doesn't exist. The evidence is the fact that Elon Musk exists. This is becoming very fucking insufferable.
The actual evidence, the flip side of the actual evidence would be that if society didn't exist, that Elon could still exist. And if society didn't exist, obviously Elon wouldn't fucking exist. This is real easy dichotomy to figure out.
And I've explained exactly that. How many ways, Fatty? Like 5. And general specific still is.
Let me break it down real.
Grabbing on his thing.
We're all born as babies, and we don't know a damn thing. And if it wasn't for society, none of us would be where we're at today.
And I've said that thousands of times in different ways. And general specific has stuck to his guns because he wants to be right on his gotcha question. And the gotcha question
do you want to be wrong? Are you?
Was not a gotcha question.
Did you wake up this morning going, I want to be wrong on a panel?
I would agree to the billionaire concept, though. Why are we all not billionaires? Why are we not? Right?
Because
honestly, when it comes down to it, because of the programming that we all receive, because of the way we're raised, because of our individuality.
Wait.
It's what makes us stronger.
We're not going to mention that family dynamics, that mental instabilities, that freaking cultural habits. These all are not particular factors. That we're all can go to the same school. We all didn't get the same training. All these things don't matter. That somehow we're just all innately because we're in one particular area. Never mind the fact that he's not even American. He's African. We don't even know what kind of dynamics or whatever he came from beforehand. The fact of the matter that he was actually a freaking entrepreneur that most people are not entrepreneurs. Most people have never ever filed for even a freaking LLC. And we're gonna turn around and say that we have the same dynamics, the same. Come on.
No. The question wasn't dynamics. The word he used was, do we lack capability?
The intangible capabilities.
Intangible capabilities. And the answer to that simple question
most people do not take those risks.
Okay.
But the question has a negative connotation in it. So we're actually answering a
negative
with a negative.
That's when I jumped into and I said, no, everybody has the same intangible capabilities.
Everyone does?
Which is a drive. But then
that's where we're already having the issue. Not everybody has that. So that's where we're coming from the beginning, from the very jump. And then you're claiming that as a fact. Not everyone has that drive.
Resla, let's go back. Simple.
Sure.
First, I'm going to go.
Before we learn anything at all, we have the drive to live within ourselves, right? Okay. We have the inherent ability to breathe without having to consciously breathe.
Okay. Let me pose this. Point number 1. First tenet, first principle. People, in order to reach goals, whatever those goals may be, let's not just define it economically or become a
for another half hour and say,
hold on.
I'm out.
I'm going to make it in less than a minute and a half.
I'll ask very qualifying questions. Go ahead.
So, 1. In order for people to reach goals, whatever they may be, we associate with other people with the same interest. That's a fundamental of society. Correct? Do we agree with that?
Go ahead,
Your
Resla.
own your own goals are not necessarily the comparison to other people what they have their own different goals.
Again, it doesn't matter. Stop
Doesn't
focusing
even
on
matter
that.
what my answer will be.
Again, I'm gonna repeat this.
If it doesn't matter,
In order for
bring it up.
people to reach their dreams, their goals, their ideas,
Their goals and just ideas have nothing to do with the fact of other people, whether they share those same visions or not. Their goals are there specifically. I'll even go to the man's name, generally specific.
again, for the argument's sake, forget about
Yes, that's all we're doing is arguing.
Okay, for the argument's sake, when a person, an individual, has a goal that they thought about, and they want to reach that goal, 99.9% of the time, they require the association with others that may be like-minded or may give them an XYZ service or may provide them that necessary step in order to reach that particular goal. That is the basis of freedom of association. The capability of humans coming together to work for a goal or to provide assistance towards that goal. Hold on.
Do they all work to be?
That's his excuse. He's a procrastinator. He never gets to the point. That's why he's not Elon Musk.
Do they all work? No, do they all work to be?
And a perfectionist as well.
Do they all work to be media moguls? No.
Again, you're going to this specific needlessly. What I'm asking
about a specific person.
Hold on. I'm taking this to another point before we go to the specific. So again, point one fundamental of society for individuals to reach their goal is the association of others. Yes or no?
Without others, we wouldn't be anywhere. So I agree. Yes.
Okay, Fadi agrees. Resla, please.
Yes.
So you're gonna sit here and ask a bunch of rhetorical fucking questions.
It's
a rhetorical question.
Because by your association, we wouldn't even have a government.
I mean, you're asking rhetorical questions.
Why are you having a question?
You would not have anything on this world. You wouldn't have anything on this planet, and we would just have bare raw resources. Yes.
So, only generally does not want to answer why.
It's rhetorical. It's been answered.
Like literally, you're not.
That's what a rhetorical question is.
Fundamental to the statement that was being made.
Again, I'm trying to do this in a good faith.
Listen, man, you don't need me if you want to fight with the world.
Specific is bad faith.
No, it's not bad faith. You're literally taking the conversation into the abstract to try to make your point.
No,
when we literally had bring forth a conversation that had to do with the actual statement that you made. No one else made. You made it.
Mm-hmm.
You made
it. So in order for me to sustain this whole thing, I have identified, I'm sorry to say, but general and specific is being disingenuous and in bad faith. I'm taking this to the most basic elements in order to arrive to that point of discussion. But it seems that we don't want to do that. It seems that we don't want to abstract ourselves for a moment.
Wait. Okay, wait. If we're gonna throw it out there, if we're gonna label him as being disingenuous, because I don't even like the word disingenuous because I think it's just being used too much over online. So I'm just gonna say the way I say it, that you're saying he's being deceitful.
Yes.
Can you explain how is he being deceitful for the question that he gave to you based on the actual scenario that you posed, and saying that pretty much that all human beings are synonymous in their skills?
Okay.
Please let me know how he's being deceitful.
One. So far, out of the 4 people, 3 are in agreement that association of people. Hold on.
So an argument.
Hold on.
popular. That's a fucking
Hold
logical
on.
fallacy right
No,
there.
no,
Yeah,
no,
but
no.
you said
That's
it's
not a
rhetorical.
Wait,
And rhetorical means that the answer is yes.
But he's saying it's
Now he's
rhetorical. But
making an ad
you're
populum
saying it's
fucking
rhetorical,
argument.
but at the same time, you're saying that you're not creating a straw man
Fuck.
yourself.
Yes.
You
Wow.
are.
Right. Yes,
This
it is.
isn't so
That's every argument is a straw man argument. Okay, we have to get past this. Every
Wait,
argument
yeah.
comes from a
I've been trying to
perspective.
get past this.
Then we cannot have
Every
people.
argument ever.
No,
So-
There's a
Fatty,
perspective
Fatty,
behind
then
it.
we cannot have people. We cannot have people labeling other people for what they're doing themselves. Keep it a buck.
That's
We're
the
not gonna be-
49-51.
Again,
it
you
right
ask
there.
your question, but here's my thing: we're not gonna sit here and call other people out if we're being hypocrites ourselves.
That's the dynamic. That's
what
it.
I'm trying to say.
Yes.
I've been trying to approach
Correct.
this in a
But we
genuine,
never see it when we're in the
sincere way.
moment. We never see
But-
it when we're in the moment. That's the whole fucking dichotomy. That's the whole.
Which is
That's
why-
humanity.
Which is why it's being called out here in the moment. It needs
If
to
I
be
give
called
$10,
here.
if I give $10 to a rainbow community, okay, who's going to say that that's right or wrong? Because from my perspective, that's the correct person to donate to. But if I give my $10 to, I don't know, the Republican National Committee, I don't fucking care who it is. Your perspective is your perspective. It's when we can't even come to the table and honor another point of view because my straw man that I want to make proves you wrong. Because we
Fatty,
can straw man anybody's argument. Every argument ever has a false dichotomy. Everything does. We can always find it. We can always find it. We can always focus on it.
GS, stay out of this. This is just going to be you and me talking. Do you believe that all human beings are the same? Fatty, do you believe that all human beings are the same innately? That we all have the same capability?
Yeah.
Really?
I think when we're born,
so the mentally challenged, for those who have different backgrounds, for those different cultures, those different understands different countries, we're all the same.
when it comes down to it, from the day that
That's
we're born,
I need you to answer that
listen to me.
question.
Yes, from the day that we're born, we all depend on society. Yes, we do.
So there are no mental instabilities, there are no challenges that makes us
Doesn't matter how we're born, we depend on society. Yes, we do.
That wasn't the question. I love the way how you shifted. Answer my
That's the
question.
argument, though.
No,
That's the original argument.
Answer my question. I didn't ask you for an argument. Answer my question. Do not deflect. I asked you a very specific question. Please answer that, sir. Are we innately different, despite the fact that we have so much instabilities and people who have different mental challenges from someone who's? Do you say I'm the same as someone who has Down syndrome? Are you gonna say that we're the same?
Yeah, we're all different. Yes, we are all different. Yes.
So from right then and there, you just totally went to the whole point that me and GS was on when it came to answering damn Ditto's question. Stop it, sir.
Okay.
Stop
Let's keep going. Keep going. Keep going. We're all different, yes.
Right then and there answers everything else. We are not the same. We all take different routes because of where we came from our background, from what the fuck we ate, from how other people view us, from what our social statuses are. What are we saying? We're not the same.
No, we're all born different. We're all born different. You're correct. Yes, we are. Every one of us is unique, but we all depend on society to survive. Without society, none of us would be here.
That was never the case. You're bringing in a whole new thing. That was never the case about survival. It was never the case.
That was the original case. That was the whole thing. That's where this all started.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Then where was it? Where did this all start then? It's all because of the arguments that D made, right? That we all depend on society to get ahead. If there was no society, none of us would get ahead.
A society to get ahead. First of all, I went from the whole thing of just asking them basically if the wealthy should be taking care of other people.
Right.
And then from there talking about how they the fact that we went to this part and saying that what they should be paying for their part and how they should be doing whatever, and then not somehow that turn out and say that, well, if it wasn't for society, if it wasn't for society, they wouldn't be where they were. When we already had when actually you and I, Fatty, talked about this earlier and saying that what came first, the chicken or the egg, and saying that those plenty of people, yes, they were there to be able to help to help get him to a point. But let's be honest, An astronaut cannot be an astronaut without the freaking engineers, and most of all, without NASA, without the top people at NASA
Society.
making the actual industry. So therefore, those people can become astronauts. You and I even agreed on that. But the fact to
Yes.
turn around and be on this side to say no, there's no way he could have made it without any other stuff. SpaceX would not be SpaceX unless Elon Musk created it.
He didn't, though. He took advantage of society to help create it. He didn't do it by himself. Nobody does anything by themselves. That's the argument.
Did they not receive a paycheck? So slavery is a thing again. Now we're all slaves.
Everybody's a victim. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Everybody is. Okay. Everybody.
Well, then so is Jeff Bezos.
No.
Elon Musk.
I can say this right now. Wait. I can say this right now. When it comes to SpaceX, when it comes to Tesla, is that a shared enterprise by all the employees or just the shareholders?
Was any of that shit his actual original idea?
I work in these fields, so I need you to let me know.
He's invested in other people's ideas. He's a good investor.
Is it the shareholders, or is it disseminated about all the workers? I just need to know this.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I know, no, it's not. It's not. It is owned by the shareholders. It is not held by the employees. The same way for NASA. Because I can tell you, because I know someone who works at NASA, they are losing right now. They're losing all their top engineers and everyone else to SpaceX.
I agree with you.
Launching
what I'm saying by yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. That's what I'm saying by yes. I agree with you. Yes. You're on the right track. I agree with that.
So it is not a company that is being maintained by the shareholders of the employees. No, they are not. They're being maintained by the shareholders of those who actually invested, who are the top people out there, including the majority shareholder who happens to be, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
But all these other people who are working would not be where they were if he did not open said industry.
He's exploiting a part of the industry that needed to be found.
Oh my God, I love the goal.
Not necessarily.
It's your point of view. I understand what you're saying, but you can't admit that he's not a part of a system. And if this system didn't exist, he wouldn't be where he's at.
No. Wait, let me answer
this. You want to put it that way? If they want to put it that way, you can't have your house unless a bank gave you the freaking loan for it.
Resla, let me answer this.
You can build a log cabin.
What are you making?
Resla,
I agree. I agree with all of it. It's the thing is that not everything is so black and white that it has to be right and wrong. That two things can exist in the same fucking concept.
I love the fact that you said that nothing is black and white, right and wrong. The same way how we can turn around and say that not everybody's built the same, but we just heard that everybody is the same, and that's a fact.
Because we don't get the same tools, we don't exploit the same tools, and we don't invest in the same tools.
Let me backtrack.
Not everybody who comes here has the same tools because they don't even know it existed.
But society creates the tools, and we can all agree that society is a part of who we all are.
Fadi, may I intercede for one quick moment?
Yes, sir.
Resla, your argument is,
yes, sir.
If it had not been for Elon Musk,
everything
hold on, Fadi, hold on, for a moment. Your argument, Resla, is if it hadn't been for the argument being presented forward is if Elon Musk had not initiated his steps because of what he believed in and he dreamed of or what he hoped for, then SpaceX wouldn't have been a thing. Is that how I should understand it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'll explain the reason why real quick.
No. I don't want.
No. And I'll give you exactly the reason why. How many other space programs are sitting out there on the level of SpaceX? Let me know, because I just finished even telling Fatty that NASA loses some of their best engineers that know people in NASA to SpaceX. So tell me all the massive people that are competing. Let me know how many other space programs that are shooting our rockets that are out here today. And I'll give it to you globally. I'll give you time to look it up. Tell me how many. Competing.
Even the whole country of India is not even close to where he's at.
Tell me.
Okay, so you have Orbital Sciences, which the founders are David W. Thompson, Bruce W. Ferguson, publicly traded company of $1.1 billion in revenue, location in Dulles, Virginia. Space Dev Sierra Nevada Corporation, founder Jim Benson, who's deceased, now led by Faith Osman, with a
I heard him. Yep.
4.1 billion publicly traded. You also would have Bigelow Aerospace. Grabbing this, and I knew you were going for that direction. Okay, so again,
if we add up all of his competition,
hold on, Fadi.
still blows them
You know
all
I
together
speak slow.
out of the
You
water.
know I speak slow, but I really want to drive the point. One, argument presented. Without Elon Musk, SpaceX wouldn't have been. That's the base of the argument presented.
Perhaps.
Sure.
Okay, suddenly we just changed because a few moments ago it was agreed upon that was the base of the argument right now.
What? Literally about an hour or so, whatever ago, we literally all agreed on that.
Okay, no.
Before GS came up here, literally you, me, and Fatty all agreed on that.
Oh, I'm the problem. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
No. You weren't here. Don't be throwing no fuel on this fire. You weren't here.
You weren't here. No.
Filthy bias.
What I said in counter to you was that it is a more nuanced aspect because one, in the condition of what you're presenting, yes, Elon Musk and his idea became the catalyst of SpaceX, but SpaceX then became the fundamental necessity for Elon Musk to reach the goals he was doing. So
now,
in this sense, hold on. Let me make this point. I'm almost there.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the whole point of the argument, of the initial argument, is that it could have been Elon Musk or anybody else, as we have seen with the 6 private companies that are competing. The point being, and what I drove home, is that in order for individuals, and we agreed this before General Specific came in, we agreed that individuals by themselves.
Made a mistake in your
Hold
statement.
on.
Let him cook. Let him cook. Woo!
We agreed that individuals by themselves are limited to what they can achieve, and that in order to have that height, we require the association of others. So the point of saying, well, Elon Musk was the catalyst, is just one aspect of the argument, where then as I presented the association aspect of it. So, all right, now that we all agree on that base aspect, that false dichotomy that we're presenting actually in reality works as a tandem to each other.
Wait, did you say can we all agree on a false dichotomy?
Could you literally just say because if it wasn't Elon Musk, anyone else could have done it. There have been wealthy people all over the goddamn place. And if you're stating that we're all the same as you see it as a fact, then that means other people who were already better off and wealthy would have done so. And I've already indicated that there are not many fucking wealthy programs that go out in space that does what freaking Elon Musk does, even though they freaking took away from government resources from the freaking NSA. People out here all over social media is rocking NSA, and no one, as much as all the money they have, even combined, have never even done what the freaking Elon Musk has done, which means that he has done something different because his strategies move different, which means that he moves in a way that most people are not willing to do because they are too risk adverse.
What did I say about space momentum or space-time momentum? I referred to that.
He's doing the same thing that every other human is doing. He's looking out for number one, and he's getting ahead. He's getting his while the getting's good. And that's what everybody does. No matter if you're a Ethiopian with nothing and no tools, you're trying to get ahead, and that's all any human ever does. Is we look out for number one, right?
In a way, and Fatty, in a way that other human beings are not doing, because if they were, then we would all be the same. But obviously, we're not.
Hold on, Resla. What did I say
that's
about?
A matter of No, that's
Okay. What I said something earlier when
Most
we
people
were
don't even have stocks in the stock market.
okay. I said something that was fundamental to this whole thing. I said that there is a characteristic of space-time momentum, meaning that, and I tried to explain it, but perhaps I wasn't clear enough. That term I'm using as to be very specific that there are circumstantial as well as casual realities happening that then make that situation with Elon Musk something that gave that momentum as to why he's where he is today. A momentum that we have to recognize in society is essential in our relations. Sometimes it is the time, sometimes the time is correct for things to happen, and sometimes it ain't correct. Sometimes there are other circumstances that are affecting the development of those ideas.
Based on what?
It could be based on several tangibles
Such as so we can feel so for the folks listening can understand
okay.
like what.
So it can be from anything from wrong decisions to wrongly timed decisions
Based
to
on
wrong investment
decisions.
to wrong people in that sense. So
and how did they get to those wrong decisions?
Okay.
Is everybody at the same momentum to be able to make those wrong decisions?
Going back to the then attempt question that was posed. Does everybody have the same, what he described as tangible or intangible capabilities than Elon Musk? And if so, why aren't we all billionaires? I answered no. We do not lack the same capabilities. But then the foregone conclusion was that what I was saying is then everybody can be a billionaire. No.
Can I ask you a question here? Because you're trying to present abstract thoughts as
fact,
as reality. It's a theory. Is a theory reality, or is it a theory that is thought to be possibly reality?
Because we're talking about theory versus practicality.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm trying to be in reality and exist where I am on this plane and deal with your premise in reality and with good faith, mind you. And then you go from reality to the abstract, move the goalpost so far afield that no one can keep up, dude. And you're telling me I'm arguing in bad faith.
I can see this. Okay. It's a matter of drive. Sure, we all have drive. Okay. It's a matter of how we put the effort. It's the effort that we put into the different drive that we want to have. It's the effort, right?
Intangibles.
Which makes us different.
We are all image bearers of God.
We are different.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
But without the drive, than you, we are different. We're not. You're not going to go as far as
the drive. There would be no difference. But the drive is the 51%.
We cannot. But then you can't say that without the drive there won't be no difference. But then turn around and say we all have the same drive. It's not the same.
I'm not saying we do. I'm not saying that we do. I'm not saying we have the same drive.
That's what Dipso is saying.
The drive, the 51% creates the 49%, bro.
Okay,
without
Fatty,
the drive, there would be no difference in the drive.
I got a small beef with general specific here.
Another hour and say absolutely
general
nothing.
Specific. You use two
say
terms.
nothing for another hour. Throw a lot of big words together that mean absolutely.
Okay,
I love
general specific.
I got nothing better to do on a freaking Wednesday night. Go ahead.
No, okay, fine. It's raining in my area, etc. I have a free time here, but the thing here, general specific. Sure. You use the word theory. Please tell me that you're not using the word theory.
Continuance is based on Einstein's theory of relativity.
And that's a fact.
Argument.
And that's a fact.
Your argument. I'm engaging your argument. A theory is not a fact.
Yes, it's a fact.
A theory is not a fact.
Oh wow,
it's literally a theory.
You are deluded
by definition.
You are
it's literally not a fact.
You're playing semantics. let me
Wow.
put it forward like this.
I can't
A
even.
scientific
Dude. I can't
theory-
even
Oh
right
my
now. I can't
gosh.
even.
It's literally a theory. It's not a fact.
You're
No.
doing too much. You're doing.
You're
too much,
confusing. You're confabulating the
No, I'm not the one
idea of
confused.
hypothesis versus theory. A theory is a fact that has been proven because
No.
of all the attempts.
No.
Number one,
No.
because of all the
A fact
mythology.
is a fact.
No.
A theory is an idea with a preponderance of.
You're playing
evidence.
semantics.
It's not a fact
This
at
is
all.
You're playing
likely to be true,
semantics.
but not a
No,
fact.
not even
Nice
not even
try.
close.
Dude,
No.
stop sticking.
No,
your
no, no.
finger in
You're
my ass and
you
tell
are
me it's not
wrong.
gay.
You're playing semantics in a very insincere way.
You're killing me, dude. You're
So
killing me, small.
fundamentally,
oh my
no,
days.
no. I'm sorry, but it has to be said.
I'm sorry too. You're being
Your
disingenuous.
definition
You're accusing
of
everyone else
theory-
of being disingenuous.
No, again, I'll challenge you. Please provide your sources
Challenged me
as to
4
why
times
the
already,
definition
and I've
of
dunked on you 4
theory
times.
is
I'm not even
just
trying to dunk on you.
Wait. Well, I can just turn around. I can just do a quick Google search if you'll take it as actual theory or fact. When it says a well-established explanation in science, a belief or policy, or an abstract idea.
Huh. It's almost just like what I just said, huh? That's
so
weird.
when it's
Abstract, sir.
even if it's an abstract sense, if there's a mythology that supports that abstract thought,
You need to
then
go
that
touch
theory
some grass,
becomes
dude.
a
Go touch
fact.
some grass. Go touch some grass. Take off your shoes and go frolic in the grass, dude. You've been sitting in
Again.
that room huffing your own farts for way too long, buddy.
No, again, the problem is that the use of
Go
your
touch grass.
semantics.
It's not mine. I literally looked it up.
It's, again, your
Huh?
argument. It's your
Yes.
It's not
statement.
mine.
Your statements and your arguments fall apart with the
No, they
barest amount of
don't.
scrutiny, and yet you
Because
blame me
even
for being
in the explanation
disingenuous.
you're using, let me guess,
Your words.
which definition are you using right now? Which
You
Google
want
did you pull up?
You want
Depends on what the
Cambridge?
definition of is now.
You want Cambridge? How many dictionaries you want? You want what you want? Oxford, Merriam? Which ones you want? Which
Okay.
one will be acceptable enough that it's
No.
enough to meet your
Hold on,
intellect?
hold on.
That popcorn. Look at
What
Fatty,
is the
he's going
difference
nuts.
between a descriptive definition?
Listen, unless you're telling me you're writing the new dictionary and you making it up for everybody else, I'm
No.
telling you it's already out there.
Do you know what?
Because the world is not just about what you think. It is a collective of people and ideas. And what's been established for so many people is not just about what you think, it's about what other people also think and what everybody can bring forth as a consensus.
Hey guys, this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. This is nuts.
Get your hands
All
off my
right.
nuts.
First off, I'm gonna bring a source and we're gonna go around it because Resla, what you just did by saying which dictionary is a fallacy
I
to the
gave three, by
dictionary.
the way.
Dictionaries
three.
are
I
descriptive.
gave three.
Okay,
I gave
so
three.
I'm giving one.
I gave
I'm
three.
giving one that goes beyond the
Hey,
descriptive.
for the record, folks,
to-
I gave three. I gave three dictionaries.
Regardless, all dictionaries are descriptive. Do you know the difference between descriptive and prescriptive? Because the definition I'm using, and I hope you're sharing it right now, is a prescriptive one that goes beyond or augments the descriptive of the dictionary.
You know what? You're right. But I gotta go look at all my other transcripts because somehow I am definitely a C grade student at this point.
Hey, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Am I right?
Have you ever?
Okay.
Do you know who David Copperfield
Is it
is?
being shared right now?
Do you know who David Copperfield is?
No, hold on. I have a source.
Have you
right
ever
now.
heard? Have you ever heard of the illusionist named David Copperfield?
What about Robert Copperfield, his twin brother?
Have you ever heard of the illusionist, Dave? Do you believe that he made the Statue of Liberty disappear? Because that's what you keep fucking doing, dude. You keep trying to maneuver people at the exact right angle so that they'll see what you want them to see and hear what you want them to hear and ignore all the other shit. Ignore your lying eyes. Ignore your lying brain. Ignoring your ability to fucking reason with empirical evidence and data.
At some point, it's okay to just be like, yo,
I'm wrong. Just say you're wrong.
No.
You're wrong. It's okay to be wrong. Now you can. Now you
generally,
can.
Generally,
Now you cannot be ignorant.
Generally,
I
did not.
Willfully
a
ignorant.
good portion, but then
I
also
did
going
not
to
spend
school.
a lot of my time in the academic field
Here we go.
to
Now
learn to do the things to then.
How are you going to do an
Again,
appeal to authority?
No. I'm not doing an appeal
I don't
authority.
give a shit about your
Because
intelligentsia. I don't give two
hold
shits
on.
about it.
Then
I'm
I don't
dealing
give
with you mano a mano.
Okay, I don't give two shits about your beliefs and your misconceptions.
Shut up.
I'm here to
having a conversation.
Misconception. Okay, I also don't have any beliefs because turn around. I went through an age of being freaking in religion and not religious, and yet I have also been through schooling. And you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong, and I actually looked it up and went through 3 different dictionaries. But you're gonna tell me otherwise. All right, you know what? I'm a C&D student. Go ahead.
Okay, so first, a scientific theory is a structured explanation to explain a group of facts or phenomena in the natural world that often incorporates a scientific hypothesis and scientific laws.
Wait. By the way, this is what this not for nothing did so, but this is terrible because this is what we call in the sign language of science or freaking science, insults, guilt, and of course the need to be right.
The Dunning-Kruger effect on top of that. You think you know more than you actually know. You're not willing to just say, you know what, I don't know the answer.
It's just rationalizations and justifications.
Literally, and just so I know you've heard that, but literally the wise man knows that he doesn't know everything.
Right. Socrates said, I know that I know nothing.
Again.
He's going to keep arguing because he knows it all.
No.
You're only 49% wrong.
I'm
going
to counter with this. General Specific is wrong in his appreciation because he's prejudiced. He's prejudiced. He does not want to engage on an honest conversation.
Every time you use my name.
But he's only 48% wrong. He's 51% right. So he's still 48% wrong.
Like we're dating right now, dude.
Look, again, General Specific.
Yes.
My way of doing things. Yes, and I keep again.
Say my name.
Look. The problem here is the way I like doing things is I like going going into the specifics and listen to the words that are being pronounced and try to decipher into how that type of explanation or what type of fallacies are being used, etc. I mean, let's face it.
Yes, I pointed out like 4 different fallacies you've used in your arguments, and you ignore them.
No. You got angry because you got angry.
Right?
You got angry because I pointed that your whole.
You can't write a
the whole thing that started this whole thing. It's got the
murdering of knowledge and the truth
and
evidence.
You have not
a murder.
You have not.
Who killed reason and evidence? Who killed empirical evidence?
Again, dude, I understand that you're mad because for the first time in your life, you have somebody challenging you every single step in the way.
I'm not a gay. Stop. I'm not a gay.
Again, why go to that point?
Sticking your finger in my ass and telling me it's not gay.
Stop imposing
really gay, dude.
You're doing
real gay.
Effect
on your leg and tell you it's raining.
It's really gay to stick your finger on my ass and tell me it's not gay. So stop.
It's prostate month, bro. You got to check that shit at least once.
You're the Christian. You're used to having
I'm
finger up your ass for Jesus.
I'm not interested.
You're the Christian. You're the one used to
tell me it's not gay.
Look again. You're the Christian. You're the one used to having a cross up your ass. So I mean, I'm the one who's free out of that shit.
You want
that's the only way that you can understand. Your gringo mentality has shown every single way. You have no honest way of conversing with people. You're a disingenuous individual. That's the only way that you can try to impose your deterministic. Again, I'm an atheist. I don't need to do false witness. I'm only indicating the things that your behavioral reality has shown to me. You have been systematically
only your worldview matters. Is that what you're telling me? Only your worldview matters.
I'm
holy narcissist.
I'm only debating. I'm only going into abstracts as well as generalities, as well as more specific. I'm trying to draw the line in that sense. However, you haven't. You have not given any contribution.
You're a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. That's what you are.
Look, your aluminiums are To me, they do not affect me. You could say anything you want
You're
about
a
me.
double-minded man, unstable in all of his
Again, you could say anything you want. You
You're
only
a
show you're a
double-minded
false
man,
Christian.
unstable in all of his ways.
You only
He
show
who
how
seeks
false
wisdom,
your
let him ask of
Christianity
God,
is.
who gives to all liberally and without
You
reproach.
only
But let
only
him ask
show
with faith, for he who asks without faith will
again.
receive nothing from the Lord.
Again,
For he is a double-minded
again.
man,
Your
unstable in all of his
Your
ways,
Bible is
tossed
bullshit,
about by
and
the
you
wind like
show
a
that.
wave on the ocean.
You're showing that you're a
There you
false
go,
Christian.
double-minded, dude.
You are a false Christian. You are betraying
Wow.
all your
Oh,
Christianity.
I
You
just
show
wrote a
it
whole-
by the
whole
way you're
scripture to you.
treating me.
Yo.
By the way, I'm
You
treating
love
you.
God, hate
Yes,
your neighbor.
you're a hypocrite.
Wow,
You're nothing more than a
born
false.
witness against me like 3
You're
or 4
nothing
times
more.
already. And
You've
you
also
said,
done the same
and
thing
you said
against me.
my values
Oh
don't
my
matter
So again,
to you.
Stop being the
Again,
victim.
you want to hit
Stop
me in
playing
the
the
head with my
victimhood.
Bible.
Stop being.
Well, you don't believe in my God, so I don't owe you.
Yeah,
anything.
your God is bullshit.
Man.
Yes, your
Grace
God
or
is
dignity,
bullshit.
buddy. I say
Your-
repent,
but
Every
degenerate.
single
But
God,
you
14,000
he has
gods
the
are
right to
bullshit.
not believe in
Degenerate.
God, though.
Repent,
the problem.
degenerate, and be thy
No.
No, your
converted.
judgment is the degeneracy.
You're the degenerate.
Not to
You are
repent.
the degenerate betrayer of
Whose
your own
judgment?
religion. You're a bullshitter that
Whose
you
judgment?
grasp
Oh
your
my
religion
God.
Judgment,
as a
fatty.
crutch.
Whose judgment, fatty? Whose judgment?
Your
My
judgment,
judgment?
you asshole. You're
Yeah.
By me saying
you're a
don't bear
false
false
Christian.
witness against me?
You're nothing more than a false
Yeah.
Christian.
Me
Yeah.
saying don't lie about me is my judgment being a
Oh my
degenerate?
God.
No, that's not what I said.
Circle
That's
that
not what I
square,
said.
moron. Holy shit,
That's
dude.
not what I
Stop
said.
playing the victim,
Wrestler.
General
You got
Specific.
victim. You got
Stop
some
playing the
winners on this
victim.
fucking panel.
Stop playing the victim,
Wow,
General
you got some,
Specific.
listen, I'm
Is the
saved, but
first
I'm a
person
long
to
way
call
from
somebody
fixed,
No,
man.
you're not
degenerate?
saved. You're a
Perhaps
hypocrite.
maybe the bigger fucking degenerate.
Yeah, I'm saved, but I'm a long way from fixed,
Fatty,
buddy.
he's
There's
all
some
I've
yours.
been
characters
saved
are still
so
This
in
many
me.
idiot
fucking
is all
times,
yours.
I don't even have
This-
to count anymore, bro.
I don't have to count
Good for
anymore,
you and your
bro.
salvation. Good for you. I honor that. But you don't honor
Oh, you
anybody
are
else
honoring
in
it.
anything.
Do you honor it while he's
Anything at
bearing
all.
false witness?
You
and then
don't
say
honor
that I'm
anybody else's
judging him?
shit because
This
your
is why-
way is the only fucking way, right?
You are
Your way
literally
is the
insane,
right way.
dude. You're literally insane.
Your way is the right way. That's
You're
what you're saying.
literally-
Everybody
I'm
else is going to
judging
burn in hell
that I
because they don't
believe you're
believe in what you
insane.
fucking believe, right?
I
Right? Is that-
judge
that's
that you're
what's-
insane. Your fruits are that you're insane.
Break it down for me,
Your
GS.
fruits are insanity.
Break
Bro.
it down for me. Who's
Break
going to
what
burn
down?
in hell? Everybody that doesn't believe like you, right?
Yeah, he's just a
Right?
projecting
And when
hypocrite.
you come to the table with that argument, you fucking lose.
Okay, so why don't you go to bed next to a bunch of hungry cannibals in
You
a foreign
fucking
tribe and
lose.
say,
No.
we're all
You
saved.
lost the fucking
Don't eat
argument.
me, bro.
You've already
Don't eat me in the
lost
middle of
the
the night
argument,
just because you're
bro.
really hungry and it's your
You've already
culture.
lost the argument.
Hey, but look at man. Hey, look at that cannibal. He's only 49% of your 51.
So
he's
I
close.
should
But while he's eating your leg in the middle of the night because he's hungry, and that's his cultural fucking right to do that, you can't
Not the
you can't
cannibal.
criticize him.
Here
You
you
can't
go.
criticize him.
Now
Look,
you
look,
wake
uh,
up. You wake up and
Now
your
you
leg
understand.
is on over a roasted fire, and they're
Now
bowing
you
on your leg.
understand the 49-51.
You can't complain.
Because right
You
now
can't
you're on the
complain.
49.
You can't complain, fatty. According to your
When
argument,
you're on the
according to
49,
your
this is how
worldview.
you feel, bro.
You're a
This is
clown,
how you
dude.
feel when you're on the 49. I
You're a
understand that.
clown. You're a
I
clown.
understand that feeling, bro. I
Ladies and
empathize
gentlemen.
with you, bro.
The cannibal's eating your leg. Are you mad?
ladies and gentlemen, with
Wake
General
up in the middle of the
Specific,
night
we
and
have
your
the
cannibal is eating your leg. Are you mad, or are you just like, I'm
ladies,
not gonna
ladies
judge
and
you.
gentlemen,
I
with
won't judge you.
General
because
Specific.
We're 49-51. 49. We're almost
I
there.
like the taste.
We're almost there. Please stop
Okay.
eating my leg. And he says, no, I am hungry.
So, ladies
No.
and gentlemen, with
Fuck you.
General
You don't
Specific,
believe in God. I eat your
Ladies
leg. I'm
and
hungry.
gentlemen.
God gave me your
That's
leg
the
to eat.
49-51.
I
got
thank
it.
God
I'm
for
hungry.
your
You're on
leg.
the 51.
You
Now
dumb
you
fucking retard.
win. You win
So-
by
That's
that
a
fucking
moron,
much,
dude.
bro.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Hold on, Fatty.
God probably
Fatty.
helped you win, didn't he? But he also
Fatty.
helped me lose, right?
with
Right?
General
God
Specific,
President Trump that killed the fucking
Patty, you're a legend in your own mind. Look at
So-
God
person
chose you.
behind
God
him, right?
chose you.
you won, bro.
You still repent, degen.
so with General Specific, we have the
Somebody
best
give me
example as to why
Resla,
Trump-
hold on.
Trump-
Can you mute?
the
Can-
dictator
can-
wannabe
just
You
and I-
can
know what
reach
I'll never
power.
do?
Give
This
me
is
an
the
You know what I will
wait,
type
never
of
do?
elector.
hold up,
I
hold
will
up,
never
hold
tell
up,
somebody
hold
when they would need to
hold
repent.
I knew it.
hold
There was
It's
no-
not up to me to
Hold
tell
on.
people when
Everybody,
you
shut
need to repent.
hell
That's
up.
not my job.
I
Everybody,
knew that was going to stop it.
Everyone, quiet. Can't hear you, fatty. Can't hear you, fatty. Everyone, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this one at a time. Because you know why? Because no one else in the audience can actually hear what the hell you're saying. Fatty, you are going off and no one can hear you. Now, I don't know if you got everybody low, so whatever, but no one could understand what everybody. Jesus Christ. No one else can understand what's happening here because, quite frankly,
You think I give a
everybody
fuck?
is speaking
Yes.
over each other. No. I give a fuck. I give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because no one else can hear what's going on. So I can't even hear what the hell you're saying. Because I can't even hear what the hell you're saying.
Yes, and fuck his God.
Cause I can't even hear what the hell you're saying because everybody is speaking all at once. And if I really wanted to, I can mute everything, even from StreamYard, so that no one, you, me, or anyone else can hear anything. Because that's how good I am at this. But I don't want to because I want everybody else. I don't know if you tapping the nipple or whatever, but I want everybody to be here. He is. I can't stand you. You know what? No, that's it. I think everybody got enough. We're calling it. We're calling it a night. It is that is a wrap. Fatty, Uncle Fatty, thank you for coming through. I appreciate you guys. Yo, Ditzo, thank you for coming through. I appreciate you being here as well. Thank you for showing up. Oh my God!
Before you kick me, can you give me one thing to logically engage? Just one thing.
Please,
I need to do it before I go to bed.
Don't try to dump on them after they've left because it's not right.
No, I want you.
I gotta bring up
I want you to give me one logical thing to engage so that I don't go to bed losing brain cells.
All right, I don't jump
give me a logical question to engage. I don't have to agree or disagree. I just want to engage with something that makes cognitive sense.
Oh, okay. All right,
go ahead. Maybe.
Oh, for crying out loud.
He said to me.
Please, for the love of God and all that's holy, one thing.
Sure. Go ahead, sir. You said you want to ask me something?
I want
is the sky is the sky blue?
No, actually, it's not blue. Goodbye. It is not blue. All right. It's actually reflecting the freaking colors from everywhere else, and that's why it's reflected as blue. All right. Yeah, that's right. That's you know.
Yeah.
All right. That's what the atmosphere is. So no, it's not blue.
I would have liked general and specific to answer, but hey.
Well, I have a couple answers for it. By the way, it reflects every color but blue. That's why it presents to our eyes.
Oh, yeah, you're
good.
Absolutely
Good. So
now,
you know things.
Okay, go ahead. So I would say in the Army, they would say, the question was, why is the sky blue? And the sergeant major would say, because God loves the infantry. And my response to that would be, no, it's because the Cav Scouts used up all the red and white paint that day, tag and everything. Cavs, Scouts out, baby.
All right, appreciate you.
No, I need one legitimate query that I can engage.
Before I go, general specific. Before I go, I just want to say the following thing. Yeah, you and I will never.
I own a mirror. I understand why you say my name all the time because I'm a beautiful man.
Okay,
I got it. You don't have to confess that. You don't have to. What do you mean? You spoke for like
I'm about to leave. I'm about to leave. Give me 1 minute. I'm about to conclude. Look, simple as this.
I don't even ask for dollars.
Generally specific.
To the bottom of
you and I will never see eye to eye because your worldview is absurd. And I will say, you and I cannot have conversations because 99.9% of you, the things you say, I consider bullshit.
For other people. You got all those Chinese over there can't breathe because all the chemicals, and you're over here sucking up oxygen.
Your xenophobic gringo mindset shows that.
Now I'm a gringo, right?
Yeah, you're a gringo.
Yeah, puta. Yeah, beso la chocha, puta.
Mi madre es santa, pero la suya no sé.
¡Chocha! ¡Ma!
Mi madre es santa, pero la suya no sé. My mother, your side don't know if it's a whore. I don't know if your mama is a whore.
At the end of the stream, I'm going to have a translation for everything.
Oiga, mi chiquito, ni me trate de hablar en español porque usted sale más trascaleado que una bolsa de boxeo, papi. Así que,
this might be the first time I put a translation.
Mi mamá es una santa, pero la suya yo no sé. My mother isn't saying, I don't know about yours, but most possible, I'm concluding that, that word puta that you use more applies to you, not to me. But hey,
Oh,
I don't know.
What does
Jesus.
beso la becho mean? What does that mean? You want to
Learn to speak before
beso la
and
becho?
should.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Still not making any sense.
Yeah, kiss my dick. That's basically what it means. Kiss my dick.
All right, you know what? Nope. Enough of this, guys. Enough. Oh my goodness, I've been trying to find a way to end this for a while. We were supposed to be ending some time ago, almost an hour ago, guys. I would love very much for this. Shout out to everybody who showed up. Did so for freaking Uncle Fatty for actually showing up, and of course, Johnny Specific as well. I put his link in the chat. For those who get to know me in other areas, such as when you see me on other channels, it could be Mel Pandora's, it could be over on the porch, it can be in lots of different areas. I hope that you guys actually appreciate what's going on here. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor, guys. Sub to the channel. I do little pop-ups back and forth or whatever. I tend to go live a little bit more. It seems like we're going live about maybe 4 or 5 days a week. It's weird because I'm all over the place. I typically always go live on a Saturday, so just be well as that. Subscribe, because what I tend to do is I tend to let people know ahead of time that I'm going live via my community post. So if you want to know when I'm going to go live versus anything else, is that. We are starting our channel here. So if you see me anywhere else where you manage to frequent, do me a favor. Just give me a quick shout out. That's all. Everything is good. this man is he's still talking shit. Damn. Now you talking about the Inquisition. God damn. That is absolutely insane. Guys, I appreciate you all for being here. I appreciate you all for actually showing up. This was actually great. This was live. If I don't do a stream tomorrow, it'll probably be Friday. And of course, we have our traditional Saturdays. I appreciate you all for being here. And this was originally a conversation that had to do with the idea of what should we do about the abundance of wealth that happens between the rich. And outside of that, I'm not even going to dive into it. Those who want to know a little bit more, dive into the replay. Of course, look in the description as well. Shout outs again to Generally Specific for actually showing up. Like I said, I put his link into the chat. And I will see you all on the next run. Till then, stay opinionated.